Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Forging Podcast, Series 5, and I'm joined by this delightful young man, Hugo Helms of Toolkit Conduct, a marvellous business that looks at helping apprentices through their perilous journey of growing up and understanding and getting into the construction industry and making an impact when they get there. Now, before we get onto that, this is obviously a podcast about how trials refine us and stories ignite strength. So, Hugo, welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm okay.
Good. You're looking marvellous. I think.
Oh, thank you.
I've rocked up in a Haven shirt and a gilet, and you've come in a pinstripe suit, like it.
Yeah, well, I sort of take after my dad. He's been a salesman his whole life, so he's always worn nice suits and tried to look sartorial. So I avoided it for as long as I could, and then I came of age and thought.
Well, you wear it well, mate. You wear it well, and your hair is looking wonderful, and the moustache, I've got to say, just completes the look. So,
thank you.
Welcome, Hugo. And I've been excited about this for many reasons. So, firstly, as you know, I work in the construction industry, and I'm a father of 4 boys, and lots of the things I've seen on your TikTok channel ring true, and there's some wonderful lessons out there for everybody to understand. Now, the other part is you're a man of faith too, and as you know, I got baptised recently, and we'll talk about that at some point. Maybe not in too much detail, but there are crossovers, right? When we're talking about meaning and faith,
absolutely,
and attitudes, etc., etc. So we'll come to that, but let's go on. Let's talk about you first. So. You are a confident man, well turned out. You said you like to take after your dad. Talk to me about your childhood. You're a Pompey boy called. I don't think I've met anyone else called Hugo that was brought up in Pompey. So was that ever a thing at school, or did you just glide through school fine?
Yeah, it was never something that I had the mick taken out of me for. I suppose I sounded posh. So that was always a thing. I was like the posh boy. Whenever my parents are very, the house is very sort of Victorian. I mean, they all are in this area, but there's sort of deer heads on the walls and stuff. You know what I mean? When I had friends around from school, it was very, that was brought up a lot. I think I was a character that could sort of mould between groups. Yeah. So I was mates with like a lot of the weird ones because I found them interesting, and I'm a bit of a weirdo, and I could hang out with them and be mates with them. Okay. And then you've got like the popular lot, sort of the road man. And
would that be? Would you say instead of weird and non-weird, would you say intellectual and sporty? Probably that's.
You're right. Yeah, weird has a negative connotation, doesn't it?
I was kind of in the middle too. But you know, my eldest kid, God bless him, he was kind of considered a weirdo because he loved his academia and he threw himself into that 100%. But he also loved his rugby. Yeah, he's a bodybuilder now. But I understand. I just wanted to add that context to what you said.
Yeah, no, you're right, and so you should do. Yeah, I could sort of mould between different groups, so I sort of got on with everybody. I did start to struggle later on in schooling because, as you said, I was sure of myself at a young age. Yeah, maybe a bit too much at some points, but. In the schooling system, I couldn't help but think, once senior school had started, what am I doing here? Why am I being taught this stuff? I know what I want to do. Yeah. I know what career I want to get into. I know what industry. I know the type of person I want to be. Why am I being taught long algebra? And it used to bother me. And I've matured now to a point where I realise everyone needs a basic, of course, a basic learning, understanding,
a foundational element.
A foundational element. But that is the problem with the education industry, and I don't think there's anyone to blame in particularly, but you're trying to teach 30 different kids who are all different, who all learn differently, who all have different interests. You're trying to teach them the same thing the same way. So I do feel for people that work in that industry, because it can't be easy.
Yeah, so you're quite right. I mean, that question or that statement in itself was probably hours and hours of conversations, right? But you're right. I think it'll be interesting to understand how you knew, and because I certainly had no idea when I was at school. I went to, thankfully my dad sent me to a lovely school down the road, which is no longer there, and it felt like family. I felt like we'd do your classes, you'd do your bits and pieces, and I was never academic. I didn't really enjoy it. I loved being a bit of a class clown, but I loved the sport. But you're right, and my wife's a teacher at a local school in the middle of the city, and the way you said that particular methods that are employed to educate are the same across 30 kids. And of course, these kids come from it's such a diverse makeup here in the city now. So, from very different backgrounds, very different morality and principles bringing up, very different discipline, all that. And you're quite right. It's very hard for a teacher to address the educational needs of the class.
Yes.
So it's a system that's been going for decades and decades and decades, centuries maybe. And there's not really been any educational reform to address this absolutely. But it doesn't, I agree. The education system clearly doesn't work as it is right now. It benefits few, I think, but not the many. But and especially with things I hear from the school, and some of the kids have very difficult backgrounds, and they just never find a foothold to really see where their promise lies.
Yeah.
And so they kind of leave school floundering and not really knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's a good segue into construction, because I said I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I fell into construction. But I fell into construction once I'd done a degree. I did a very simple degree in sports science, and ultimately I wanted to become a professional rugby player. Right. That was never going to happen, but in my head I thought, wow, I'll hang out for another 3 years. But that was before you'd get mountains of debt in university fees. Now,
this is another thing.
So then if people do take that route, it's mad, isn't it, what they get into? So I fell into it. So, sorry, coming back to you then, how did you know when you were younger, this isn't for me, I know this is what I want to be, this is how I view it? How did you know that, and where did that come from?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not the same for everybody. I was quite lucky in knowing what I wanted to do early on, and that's why I got fed up at school learning different things. And that's why as soon as I had the opportunity, I got out, did some work experience with some family friends that were in the trades. But I always knew I wanted to do something practical. So I liked writing. I was really good at English, actually. I've got great imagination, love writing stories. But even then I was like, I couldn't do this forever. Okay. I couldn't be sat at a desk writing in a room with 4 walls and a ceiling, and a tiny window. I just can't do it. I've got to be outside doing something practical, working with my hands. And in the school I was in, we had DT. So there was a little woodworking shop. And I remember the first thing I made was a little tea light, a little sort of candlelight holder. And I just loved it. Yeah. I loved cutting it and sanding it and staining it up, and and it's still on the mantelpiece at home now. Kids. Yeah, from when I was sort of 13, 14. And I just knew I wanted to do something practical. As well as that, my dad encouraged me to do a trade. So as I said just before we started, he's been a salesman his whole life, but he sells bathroom products. So he's sort of kind of in the industry because he talks to plumbers all the time. Right. So he sort of knows his way around the trades per se. But he encouraged me to get a trade, because he kept saying, you'll never be out of work, you'll never be out of work. And that statement is still true now. It hasn't changed. If anything, it's become more true than it was when he was telling me 5-10 years ago. So I always knew I wanted to do something practical. I had encouragement from my dad to get into the trades. And then, similarly to you, really, I just kind of did it. Yeah. I just kind of fell into it, and I called up the college and said, what do I need to get a carpentry joinery apprenticeship? They told me what qualifications I need. But you took
control of that yourself?
Well, this is an interesting question, because you do have to put yourself out there. Yeah. If you've got a clear goal in mind, you have to be the one to take hold of the wheel and direct yourself in the way you want to go.
Just quickly on that point, Hugo. I agree with everything you said there, but I know via my kids, I see lots of other lads and lasses who don't really. I suppose they don't have the
ambition,
potentially, but I suppose they lack the confidence to really take that step. They've been used to their parents kind of saying, right, this is what you need to do. You're going to do this. Don't worry, I'll do this for you. I'll do this for you. And suddenly, 16, 17, 18, you're nearly an adult. You've got to be an adult now. Yeah. I suppose, what's your advice to any younger people watching this who could be nowhere near their GCSEs yet, or even during their GCSEs, who are thinking, academia is not my way forward. Yeah. What's your advice then for them to make that step, to show that they're kind of in control, and from an employer perspective?
Yeah, well, you bring up a brilliant point, because a lot of lads and lasses that end up in the trades, they come from broken homes. They come from homes where they've had no support, where they're spoken down. They're told they'll never amount to anything. Yeah. You hear that a lot in songs, or like rap songs these days. Yeah. Like, my teacher said I'd never be this, look at me now. Yeah. I think there is a difference, because I was speaking to someone the other day, and they sort of said, 50 years ago, teachers would say, you can be the president of the USA, you can be prime minister of the UK. And it was encouragement. And it was far-fetched, and it was, blue sky thinking, could I really be in charge of the country? But it was that encouragement, no, you can be this. But it's weird, we've never lived in an age where there's so much opportunity, and at the same time, there's such little confidence boosting for other people,
As in sort of cheerleading or
just
encouragement.
Yeah, I think people are against you until you make it, and then they're all for it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I know where you're coming from with that. I obviously don't. I'm much older than you.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't see from that perspective, but that is interesting. I think from we were talking earlier about the teaching profession and how much pressure teachers are under nowadays.
Yeah.
And we also talked just then about how we think the education system's broken. I think we both agree on that too.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, I think, because teachers are under a lot of pressure then to perform and have the right attendances. Are they saying the right things? Are they delivering the content in the right structure that Ofsted will appreciate? And how do they get outstanding again in their tests? It's like there's so much pressure on their shoulders. So actually that detracts from their real job, which is to inspire and to bring out the best of the pupils that they're teaching, because they're under so much immense pressure themselves.
Yeah.
And you sometimes see it, and I remember seeing it in school. I think it was probably a bit less strict in the private education system. So I was at St John's, and teachers seemed a lot more relaxed and a lot more capable of seeing what was in you, what goodness, what spark you had, understanding you quite quickly, and then just minor adjustments to the way they delivered things to you to bring the best out of you. And that's why I'm grateful for my education there. Whilst I wasn't academic, I certainly got something out of it. And I just, you're right. There's pressures everywhere. So then, and add to that the fact that you grew up with internet, your generations all have internet. I didn't. So I didn't have any of that distraction. We didn't have phones. We didn't have any of that. We were flicking paper at each other with elastic bands, and it's kind of as mad as it got. So there's another issue there, isn't there, with the internet? And how do you think that's affected kids coming up now?
Well, look, I mean, following on from what we were just saying, comparison's a thief of joy, right? So you're kind of burning the candle at both ends, because say you've got little Jimmy and he's not academic. He's like me, wants to do something practical. But I mean, I even got stick when I started my TikTok page.
From who?
Well, just from other young lads I used to go to school with, and people I know, some people at work that saw them and went, "Oh, what are you doing?" And it's that sort of thing of like, if I end up with 1 million followers, they're going to be like, "Wow, you've done great."
I see what you mean.
As soon as I've got 10 views on it, do you know what I mean? They're taking the mick, which I get. It's all banter, and I've learned to have a thick skin being in the construction industry. But comparison is the thief of joy, and something that pains me, which I try not to do, is I'll be on social media. I try and avoid it, but everyone ends up on it. So I'm scrolling away, and I saw a clip the other day, and it really hit me. It was a lad, my age, 21, and he'd bought his dad a Mont Blanc pen to sign a contract that retired his dad because he was going to work for his company. And he said, "You're going to be operations manager. I'll pay you 100 grand a year. You don't have to do anything. You can give up your job. I'm retiring you." And he runs this sort of online forum about improvement, a little bit like this, men's mental health. And I just looked at it and I was like, why am I not that yet? Or I'll see someone who's 25 or 26 that's a crypto millionaire, and they live in Dubai and they drive a Lamborghini Urus, and I'm thinking, why am I not doing that? And it's detrimental, because if I didn't see that, I could look at myself in the mirror and go, "Do you know what? You're doing all right. You're trying hard. You're working. You're making good connections. You're meeting new people." Even though I am doing all that, I see someone doing 100 times better than me, which I shouldn't. I shouldn't be able to see someone living on the other side of the world.
That's right.
I wouldn't be able to see that without social media. So it is tricky, and as well, young lads are seeing these crypto millionaires and thinking, "Great, I can just sit back and relax, get rich quick, don't have to try, no effort. I'll just end up doing what they're doing."
So it's an entitlement based on what they see happening. Well, I could do that then.
Yeah, I mean, I think at certain ages, 13, 14, 15, they're just excited.
Of course,
Which is
the
fine.
opportunity that is out there, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, even in the lockdown when gaming was massive, I had friends that started Twitch streams and, tried to be famous video gamers and all of this. And that's great, right? It's ambition, and it's, there's an opportunity there. But I think, which is particularly why I've written my course and I'm encouraging people to get into the construction industry, being a professional gamer doesn't come with all the benefits that being a physical, hard-working man comes with.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure we'll get onto this, but all of the benefits of getting to the end of the week and being mentally and physically shattered and dropping onto your pillow, that's a great feeling.
After a hard week of graft.
Honestly, I live for that feeling. And if I get to the end of the week and don't feel like that,
you feel you've let yourself down.
You didn't work hard enough.
I don't think many people think that.
Well, look, yeah, sometimes it's a plague. Sometimes I overdo it. But I live for that feeling of going, my tank is empty. I've done everything I possibly could today.
Wow.
And I've seen that you only get that with a kind of job like mine, because you can exert yourself physically and mentally.
You can see the fruits of your labour as well.
And this is it.
Yeah.
You can see what you've produced. You can look at a roof at the end of the day and go, I built that.
Yeah.
You know, it was a pile of timber on the floor there, and I've built that, and it's going to stand for 100 years or whatever.
You're quite right. Like, so I had a small groundworks business, and then I now work for a different business over in Wickham, out Southern Structures. Before I joined, I'd had a little job to do to put in some EV chargers at the Morrison's car park in Horndean. So I did that, but literally driving around there the other day, I said to the kids, I built all that.
I did that. Yeah. It's a joke in the construction industry, like driving past houses and nudging your missus and going, I built that. Built that, fitted that, did this.
You do make a mark on the planet.
Yes,
you actually do. You are contributing. You have delivered. You have built. So I can see you are very driven to help and assist people that might be going through these difficulties of understanding construction. And of course, you mentioned before about coming from different backgrounds where they've not had that direction. They've been told they're useless all their life. What's been this drive behind you? Can you give me some context to? You're only 21, Hugo, right? Yeah, and you seem to have a worldly knowledge of someone who's probably in their 30s. So let's go back to why Toolkit Conduct? Why this?
Well, I wanted to bring this up at some point, is this idea of the curse of competence. And it's a really interesting sort of philosophy. And Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom, that podcast, he speaks about it. Stephen Bartlett on his, it's sort of on all these sort of podcasts about men's mental health and, you know, achieving greatness. And it's this idea that not to be big-headed and say I'm competent, but when you understand the world, it gets to a certain point and it almost becomes a curse. Because like I said, I get to the end of the week and if I don't feel shattered, I'm not good enough, I haven't done enough. Right. And it's that curse of competence. Yeah. But it gets to a point now where it would be selfish if I didn't tell other people what I'm observing and what I'm learning, especially people that are younger and less fortunate than I am.
Yeah.
So Toolkit Conduct was, I've done my apprenticeship. I went self-employed because that was another encouragement from my dad. Be self-employed, work for yourself, jump in the deep end kind of thing. So I just started subcontracting, it's a good in-between for anyone listening between your apprenticeship and being your own boss and having your own business is subcontracting. Because yes, you're self-employed and you can say I'm not coming in or I am coming in, but everything's kind of sorted for you. You turn up on a site, materials are there, the job's there. So it's a good in-between for anyone that wanted to know. But I was subcontracting for a housing developer up in Guildford, and that was jumping in the deep end because I'd been house bashing, you know what I mean, whacking up houses for cheap as chips.
Sorry, just quickly, what were you doing? Joinery for the A-frames or what?
Yeah, so it was first and second fix, but it was all on 120 plot sites, house sites.
Machine-like operation.
Yeah, it was just one house. There was 3 different houses, and it was just them. You
knew the formats for each house.
And then all of a sudden, I'm working on a £2 million house in Surrey. Wow. You know what I mean, in Guildford, and I'm like, wow, this is different gravy. So I'm learning all of that, meeting new people, and there was a groundworks van that turned up, and this young lad hopped out of it. You know what I mean, fresh out of school, 17, spotty face, skinny as you like. 5 other lads jumped out of this groundworks van, and it was minutes before it was nudging in the ribs and shouting at him, calling him names, go and do this, go and do that. Are you stupid? Are you this? And I was on top of a scaffold working on a roof, and I was looking down watching it, like, bird's eye view of it. And that evening I got back to my Airbnb and I just, instead of watching Netflix, I opened Page's document and I just started typing the advice I would have given him. So how to take banter, how to earn respect, how to show respect, right? And I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but what it turned into was one page of why don't you do this, mate, to a year and a half of writing it, speaking to business owners, tradesmen, contacting different marketers and housing developers and all of this stuff, architects, to compile all the knowledge and all the advice possible from my own experience, from other apprentices and tradesmen's experiences, to just say, this is the Bible, if you'll excuse us. This is the Bible.
Mildly blasphemous, but we'll ignore them.
This is the Bible of construction. This is the guidebook of how you're going to be the best version of yourself and the best apprentice. This is how you get there.
Excellent.
So, and it came from a place of, well, I've got this knowledge. I've been fortunate enough to have a support network and, and also things I've done myself, being very observant. I'm a podcast nutcase. I listen to them all day, every day.
I get that.
Yeah, and just sort of learning. I love learning. I love finding out stuff. I love human psychology and seeing what makes people tick and, why people respect certain people and why they don't respect other people. And so that's what the course is. So now the goal is push it out to as many young people as possible.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's a business, but I've got a passion for passing on knowledge. And it's great. I mean, we met at the mock interview day of St Edmunds.
We did, yeah.
And there's this notion that all the young people today are completely useless. And I've said it in my TikToks a couple of times, where are all the young, ambitious young people? Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised at that day.
Yeah, same. I had some brilliant conversations.
Young lads, and I thought, do you know what? I can see myself in you. I know that, you put on this front, but you're really insecure. Just like we all are.
Yeah, it's sort of a little bit romantic, some of those. And
then I was really sort of digging into their minds and seeing what they were really like. And I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
They all had ambition. They all wanted to do well. A couple of them mentioned, providing for their family. I'm like, you're 13. It's good you're thinking about this, I'm only just getting the grasp of that myself.
Yeah, same. I'm 43.
Yeah. So I feel as if I have a duty.
Yeah.
To pass on.
I like that. Yeah. So I think something that I've seen is missing is that kind of that link. There's also almost an assumption in construction that these young lads are going to come through, and there's another construction company locally who've done a lot of work with CETC, the college in Fareham, and I think they're reaping the rewards for that. I think they set that up about 10 years ago, and it's doing very good. It's delivering some very competent groundwork, and as you know, in construction, all the various elements of construction, we'll talk about all the avenues at some point. But so I was in groundworks, and that's where the majority of my experience lies, and I kind of fell into that. A good friend of mine, Sid Claffey, his dad owned a business, so I ended up on petrol forecourts. I remember having finished my degree. I taught in a school for about 3 months, and they're the toughest 3 months. I was a cover supervisor. I was at Milton Cross. It was a tough 3 months. And I remember then speaking to a lad at the rugby club, saying, mate, I don't think I'm cut out for teaching. It's really hard. I don't have the patience or the coping mechanisms.
I struggle with the patience bit myself.
I got bullied. I was a 18-stone, 22-year-old rugby player, and I thought they're going to respect me rather than big names.
Yeah.
Really?
That's really interesting.
Complete disrespect the whole time. Wow. I look back at it fondly because there were some really great characters that were at the school, and I hope they're doing well. I don't know about anything of any of them anymore, but there were some cracking characters. But yeah, they completely rinsed me from day one. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think I got called a rent boy within half an hour. That was eye-opening. But what I ended up in construction. Sid said, "Why don't you come and do some groundworks?" I said, "Well, I've laboured on sites before, and I laboured from the age of 16 basically to earn a bit of money." And I remember them being on a dig. It was about -2. It's 8 a.m. on the Heathrow perimeter road, and we're putting in some drainage in, but we're over services, so it's hand digging. So I'm hand digging away with this Irish lad. Obviously, his name was Paddy, and he was laughing to himself. And as he's laughing at my technique on the shovel, and I'm just grafting, trying to prove a point because I'm a big guy, and I just didn't know how to use a shovel properly. And he's like, I was like, "Paddy, please, why are you laughing?" He said, "Is that right that you got a degree?" I said, Yeah. He said,
"Oh, no.
I can't even read or write. We're doing the same job." Laughing, isn't it? So, And we go, "That's fair enough." What I did understand was that having no skills in construction, I understood that actually by just getting my head down and grafting and showing up on time, good attitude, and I know these are key tenets of your lessons. But I understood that, like, just get my head down. I didn't want to talk too much on a construction site because of how I sound as well. And then just turn up, be punctual, don't get drunk all the time. And suddenly I realised actually there was a really good opportunity to earn money and something I had no idea about. And then my career kind of just evolved in that way. And another story I remember at that same site, my boss he's from up north. Is that Butters? Come on, you need to read the Daily Smart. I'm reading these illicit kind of stories of men and women doing fairly sexual things, but in my accent, apparently it made the whole Tea Hut laugh. So that was a daily thing. But anyway, talk to me then. Give me some insight into that. I've just told you I had nothing in terms of, I didn't have much to offer in construction. I wasn't a QS. I hadn't learned architecture or anything like that. Yet I was suddenly able to earn really good money, much more than I was earning working at that school.
So, I mean, you're a great example of it. I mean, we said just before that employers aren't stupid, right? They know if they're going to get a young lad on, if they're going to get an apprentice on, whatever they say to you, any apprentices listening, whatever they say to you, why can't you do this? Are you stupid? All of that. They're not stupid themselves. They know that you're not going to come into a job fresh out of school with all the knowledge of a 35, 40-year-old tradesman, right? Or even older. I mean, the average age of a builder is 52. Just throw that stat out there,
No.
The average age of a builder in the UK is 52.
So there's got to be a huge gap there where people are just staying away from manual work.
There's a ginormous gap, which is part of my mission: get the youth in the trade.
Just quickly, I wrote some stats. I think this fits in very well. So the forecast is we're going to need nearly 48,000 extra workers per year between now and 2029. That's nearly 250,000 over 5 years. That's mad, isn't it? So this is a shortfall of labour in this country.
A tremendous shortfall, incomprehensible. The lack of labour we have, truly. I mean, the current government's plan was to build 1.5 million new homes in their parliament. That works out to around 800 a day, 24 hours a day.
Wow.
I mean, in short, it's not happening, right?
If they do it in RC frames, I'm all for it. Because that's what...
But there's a tremendous shortfall in labour. Employers aren't stupid. All they want to see, which is what you demonstrated going ham on the shovel, is a bit of ambition, a bit of work ethic, and the ability to listen and pay attention. And that is what's, again, I'm not being big-headed, I was the best apprentice.
No.
But straight away, I moved up the ranks.
Of course.
And every builder working for the company that I did my apprenticeship with wanted me. Like, I was being bought over. All because of my attitude. And look, I made stupid mistakes, really stupid mistakes. I've written a couple of them in my course. I actually pulled my trousers down and went, no, I've messed up. There was one time...
Did you actually pull your trousers down?
There was one time I was on a site and I was doing stud work. And we'd done it, me and my mentor at the time, for about 6 months straight. Stud work's easy.
It's boring.
It's boring, but it's very monotonous, but it's easy. When you know what you're doing. It's literally header rail, sole plate, in between, cut out the doorways. So he did the header rail and the sole plate, and he went, tell you what, Hugo, I'm going to leave you in here to stud this whole thing out. The quicker you do it, I'll give you an extra 50 quid at the end of the week, or, I'll match how quick you do it. And I thought, brilliant, I'm going to go absolutely nuts. Long story short, I studded over all the doorways. So he comes up the stairs. I did it in a day. So I'm stood at the... I've written this in my course. I stood at the top of the stairs, hands on my hips. I was over-egging it a bit, but I was like, come up and look at this, not this. And he was sort of like, right. So do you want to tell me how you're going to get out of the room you stood in? And I was sort of like, the door. And I was sort of, oh. And he's like, how are you going to get into the bathroom? Knockings everywhere. So I made stupid mistakes. And the other thing is, which I also write about in my course, when you make a mistake, you're going to be made to feel that big, right? It's all part of it, but
of course.
We'll get onto this. But what made me desirable to the other tradesmen is even things as simple as eye contact. If you're getting told an instruction, instead of sort of carrying on with what you're doing or sorting your pouch out or tying your high vis in knots, you look at the person. You look at the person telling you, and while they're instructing you, yes, I understand. Like even something as simple as that, because respect is
affirmative. Understood.
Respect is a circular thing, isn't it? I show you respect, you show me respect. So I'm 17 on a site. being shown respect genuinely by 45-year-old tradesmen. And even I'm like, this isn't right. I'm meant to be getting
absolutely rigged.
Absolutely, yeah, rinsed. But I'm being shown respect here. And someone's going out of their way to call up the boss and go, Hugo's really good today. That doesn't happen. So straight away, I was constantly observing.
Two seconds on that. Yeah. I mentioned this in the last podcast too, but there's always that common thread of someone in your experience or lifetime that has seen something in you and gone, don't worry, I'll look after you. And they've seen it, right? So, and that's what's happened with the other guys that I've spoken to too. What is it that is it that attitude? Is that what gave you the competitive edge ultimately? That you think that they gave you that respect because of that?
Yes, I think it was ultimately my attitude.
Yeah,
it wasn't my ability. Because we all started off on the same. I mean, you can get good tradesmen and cowboys, but it wasn't my ability as an apprentice. Because again, an employer doesn't expect you to know everything. It's purely your attitude. And I write about this in my course as well. Something is simple. If a tradesman says to you, can I have that tool? That you pass him the tool in a way that makes him easy to grab it.
So you're offering him the handle rather than the sharp end.
Exactly. Exactly. Precisely and well put. Because he will notice that. And he might not say to you, thanks for passing me the saw that way around.
Detail.
But it's up there and they'll recognise it.
Because it shows your thinking.
It shows your thinking.
Even in the most simple task.
Even though it's simple. So again, you don't have to do much to stand out. And what's interesting, again, I write about this in my course, but the idea of conformity and trying to fit in. Anyone watching, worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Absolute worst thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You become a clone of, I mean, it's a fact that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Absolutely, yeah.
But having said that, you have to maintain your individuality and your integrity.
Sorry, as you're saying that, I'm thinking I will draw back on my experiences and like I said, luckily I was a big lad, played rugby, so I had a physical presence. So I wouldn't have been someone, don't get me wrong, I often got people who fancied a bit and who sort of look at me and go, well, you looking at mate, all that nonsense. I kind of, in that situation, you're the sum of the 5 people you are. If you're a strong character, you can identify those that do not walk the same path that you walk, and you just tend to distance yourself as much as you can, minimise the contact. But there are lads that don't have that strength of understanding who they are yet, or value themselves. And like you said, I don't know if we said it on camera, but maybe off camera, we talked about loads of these girls and boys that are coming through broken families, etc., have not been valued or shown the value of themselves. So they don't know that, so they're really vulnerable.
Yeah.
How anyone who's kind of feeling that vulnerability. I mean, this is a big question. If you know the answer, you'll be a billionaire. But what's your advice to those? Because if they're getting the courage to suddenly going, oh, I love doing practical stuff, but I'm a bit worried. I'm going to be around some big, scary people. Yeah. Kind of, what's your advice to them to find that strength internally and then deliver? Yeah. That's a tough question, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's a great question, and it needs to be spoken about because. Yeah, it's the key to success, really. Yeah. I think it's not a simple answer. For me, confidence, and not just the shallow definition of confidence, but deep internal self-assurance of who you are. And I know that then it's, well, how do you get there? Yeah. If that were the next question, I'd say self-evaluation and honesty with yourself. There's been times where I've pulled up from home and put down the mirror in the car, the visor in the car, slid the mirror across and just stared at myself and gone, and something's happened that day. Yeah. And I've looked at myself in this mirror and gone, why did that happen? What did you do to make it worse? What did you do to make it better? How did you feel inside? What did you say despite how you were feeling inside? Did what you do diffuse the situation or make it worse? Should you have taken a step? Self-evaluation. Yeah. And if you're constantly doing that, you build up this memory store in your head and you come across a problem and go, 3 years ago, I was on a site and something exactly like this happened. So-and-so did this and it all ended terribly. I'm going to take a step back. Or I stepped in and said this and it diffused the situation. These characters are like those characters. I'm going to step in here. Yeah. So it's self-honesty is massive quality, because I've also come back from work and flipped the visor down, looked in the mirror and gone, you were an absolute knob today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you were an
yeah.
idiot. I don't want you acting like that again, saying it to yourself. And there's been other times I've gone, top work today, you've done well. Having that relationship with yourself and being able to say to yourself, pack it in, you're winding me up. It's weird, isn't it? But also to reward yourself and say you've done well, that develops your own character, and then you become self-assured. And once you're self-assured, you can say to someone, no, that is a line I am not crossing. Go ahead, I'm fine. And people respect you for that.
Absolutely.
And that's where you get the respect. That's where
you're not a normal 21-year-old, or you're not a normal 18-year-old in the circles I move in and people I know within the construction industry. And I think you're a very rare character. But I like that. The self-talk thing, I don't know if I saw it on one of the podcasts you mentioned earlier, but they were talking about those who actually talk to themselves. So when you're in the car by yourself, like, right, what am I going to do? This is how I'm going to attack this. But that positive self-talk as well, and the visualization and holding yourself accountable to the good and the bad. Yes. But addressing the good as well. Absolutely right. Yeah, I'm well done today. You nailed it. Like if I come from a gig where I've MC'd or something, I would come back saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that. Oh, you shouldn't have said that." But sometimes I go, "Actually, I held the room well. You know, I said the quips at the right time, and I fed on the energy, and it just flowed beautifully." And then I'll say to myself, "Well done, mate. That was a good gig. Well done." But what I heard on this particular podcast was absolutely the people that tend to talk to themselves. And addressing the good and bad, they seem to have much more connections with understanding who they are, and then of course that comes out with what they're doing as well. I think your point you made there about holding that self-value is where that's important. Because you're absolutely right. Once you have that value for yourself and you understand who you are, what you contribute, what you're capable of, then you will stand your ground. When people start saying things, you say, well, no, that's not right. This is where I am. That's great. Looking at, we talked about this huge deficit of workforce in construction. I was looking at, so the median earning in the UK is nearly 40k. Did you know that?
Yes.
So the median, which is obviously means the average across the whole country, 40k. So I know lads who have come into maybe 2 years of labouring, are earning 60. Top labourers can probably earn about £18 an hour. What's that? 900 quid a week if they're doing 10-hour days.
Yeah.
Which is pretty incredible, isn't it? That's over £3,500 a month.
Yeah. For no skill set.
For no skill set. Yeah.
Barely any ability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there are routes beyond that. And I think so people that go into construction from the apprenticeship, they get a skill, they show the right ambition, the right attitude and approach. They're consistent and they're progressing and showing a hunger to progress. And it doesn't just stop at that. It doesn't stop within that skill. Like there's also opportunity to have your own business.
Yeah.
Suddenly you can have, you're in carpentry, you could have 10 carpenters that work for you, right? And then the options are limitless, really. Or you go into a much larger contractor and they see the value of you on site and your knowledge on site, but you might have a skill in numbers, and they say, well, have you thought about either site management, contracts management, QSing, estimating? There's so many pathways. Do you address that with the Toolkit Conduct? Is there anything in there that can open people's eyes to all of the possibilities within construction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a carpenter, so even a lot of the analogies I use in there are sort of carpentry based, just because that's what I know. It is for all trades, all manual labour. But yeah, as you said, I did a presentation at a school and I was speaking to a load of year 9s, and one of the lads had basically turned up because he didn't want to be in class. Because I said to them all, what trade do you want to be in? And I got to him and he sort of went, don't want to be in a trade. And I was like, well, what are you doing here then, mate? I want to be an entrepreneur. And I went, great, welcome. You're in the right place. Being a tradesman is also being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
You can go self-employed, you can start your own business, you can go off the tools as soon as you like, and you can manage it all from home and you can do admin. You know, if you want to wear a suit and take a briefcase to a meeting, to talk about building a house, great. Like, you're in the right place. So, as you said, the construction industry is massive. It doesn't just mean you've got to hammer nails into wood or dig holes. There's so many avenues it can take you down. And also, even if you don't end up in it, even if you do end up doing more of the office side, you've always got that foundation, and you've always got those skills that you've learned and the basic knowledge. So yeah, it doesn't go into quantity surveying or site management necessarily.
Yeah.
But as well, that's because it wouldn't be right for me to give a load of advice on that, because I don't do it.
I suppose it's providing awareness to people that, and of course, lots of people are money driven. You know, there are so many
makes
things.
the world go round.
Of course, and that's all what you see on social media. You talked about crypto millionaires and all that stuff, but you also see fine living of hardworking people, and you think, well, how else can I get that? Well, you can get that with construction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the way I see it. So if you think about the armed forces, you can go the ratings route or the officer route, and the people that tend to go the officer route have fairly different backgrounds, or they're driven to be in management, and they've captured the ropes, whatever. It flows. But you see some of the best officers in the armed forces, and there are definitely people here that probably disagree with me, but definitely the best officers I ever worked with or knew came from we call it the lower decks of the Navy. So they would have gone in as an able rating, and gone up through the ranks, and then gone up a yard route, which is basically you've come to a senior rank within the rating. So you're a petty officer or a chief or a warrant. Normally the warrant officers don't. They're like, nah, I'm happy. Right. But then they can go through Dartmouth and then become an officer. Okay. And then they're fairly fast tracked because they know absolutely everything about their job already. They're very good in their field. But they've been down there. They've done everything that the guys have done down there. And now they're up here from a commission perspective as well. Yeah. So when they make a decision, they're highly informed because they know exactly how the lower decks work. So just then flipping that on the other way round, you think of construction, and I think some of the best construction professionals I've worked with have that basis of understanding from starting out from an apprenticeship, then going on the tools for 2 to 5 years, then realising actually I've got an opportunity either to start my own business because I know lots and there's great opportunity out there. Or they become a different route within a construction company because they've seen promise, for example, QSing or estimating or contracts management. Yeah. That's where I see the value in this. And so I suppose the point I'm getting to are people that are floundering and not really understanding where they can go at school because academia is not working for them. Yeah. By the time they're 25, they could easily be on and I say easily, with lots of hard work and going the right way. That's not easy. Sorry, that's not easy. But potential to earn 50k at the age of 25 is absolutely there.
Absolutely there. Yeah. And what you were saying about, moving up the ranks and ending up in a high ranking position is the problem you've got now on big sites is the site managers have never picked up at all.
Yes, you get university site managers.
So they've come straight from uni. Yeah. They haven't even been on a site. Yeah. And suddenly they're telling 100 tradesmen how to do their job. Yeah. It just doesn't work. Yeah. It's a lack of respect then for the site agent. He can't get anything done because no one's listening to him.
But he's bloody good at contracts and paperwork.
Yeah, great, but that doesn't help when a tradesman goes, what do I do here? Yeah. And he's going, well, I don't know. Yeah. I've never picked up hammer before. Yeah. And it just becomes carnage, and it's a total lack of respect. It's all out of whack when that happens. So yeah, you're right. The best tradesmen and even the best entrepreneurs. I've listened to a load of audio books. Of Alan Sugar and Gerald Ratner. Funnily enough, even though he had his big downfall with the joke and all of this, is that they all started off riding a bike and delivering mail. Yeah. Or but being a mail boy or riding a bike or cleaning the windows of the storefront, they've all started off right at the bottom. And the reason why they've ended up where they are is because they know how to talk to each rank in a business. They know that the labourer who doesn't have any skill might need a bit of a kick in the backside, but they wouldn't talk to the master carpenter like they talk to the labourer. Yeah. So if you work through the stages of yourself, you have an understanding of how everything works, the mechanics of running a business. But yeah, as you said, the prospect of earning 50k a year as a 25-year-old is almost underselling it.
You're quite right. You're quite right.
There's so much potential to earn great money. Yeah. And I've got a lesson in the course about it, about money. It makes the world go round. How do you get more of it quickly? Yeah. What do you do?
Excellent.
Because it does. It'd be great if it didn't make the world go round.
But
I
have
gave
a
you 8
comfortable
carrots for a
lifestyle.
structure. Yeah, but it doesn't work like that, does it? You know?
There'll be bloody good carrots, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I think another element of construction is we briefly looked at academia, and there'll be lots of young people who do all right at school. They do all right. They get GCSEs are a 1 to 9 now, so they're getting 5, 6s, 7s in GCSEs, which is fairly decent. Then they go to A levels, they get C's, B's, and then they kind of think, oh well. That's what I did, really. I kind of just drifted through. And
Right.
at the time when I went to university, I just wanted another 3 years to kind of try and figure out my life and what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. I got a degree, but it doesn't mean anything. I didn't really use it.
Yeah.
I think it does count for something sometimes when they see a degree, but to get a degree nowadays, you're literally juggling up to 60 grand's worth of debt when you come out. I saw someone had written recently, oh, brilliant. I've been spending £300 salary sacrifice to pay off my student loan, and I've just looked at the total, and basically it had risen from 60,300 to 60,600.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, people still think that's not a viable option. Why would you handcuff yourself and shackle yourself for the rest of your life to get a degree that means nothing? Ultimately, I suppose this is a broadcast to say, come to construction, be ready for some hard work, but understand there's a great opportunity to make good money and to develop a career that lasts you the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And this is I get quite passionate about uni. If you want to be a scientist, great, go to uni. You want to be a mathematician, go to uni. You want to be a doctor, definitely go to uni.
Yeah,
right? We need
but that's
more
vocational. That's vocational.
Right, exactly. But there was a guy I knew, and he did a 3-year degree in PE, and then became an apprentice.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
And he regretted it because he was like, well, I wasted 3 years.
Well, I suppose if he did a conversion course to become a PE teacher, that made sense.
Yeah, great. Yeah. But he only did it because he didn't know what he wanted to do.
Same as me.
Right.
Yeah.
And he just thought, I'll just go to uni for 3 years and I can have a laugh with my mates and I'll get a degree out of it and I might end up
video games every day, get drunk a lot.
But this is it. You end up, like you said, great analogy, shackled to this debt for the rest of your life, and you might not even end up using the degree. If you do an apprenticeship, it doesn't cost you anything, apart from if you buy tools. Even if you don't do it, you've got a baseline knowledge of a trade, a skill.
Yeah.
And you haven't wasted any time, even if you don't got into the industry.
Debt either, really.
Exactly.
You're not shackled by that debt. So you're ultimately earning as you're learning.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, I mean, if I was 16 again, that's definitely the route I'd consider. Yeah. And it's something I've talked to all my kids about.
Yeah.
My oldest one wants to be a bodybuilder. He's like, nah, I don't want to lift weights for the rest of my life. No, cool. I think you'll do well, by the way.
Yeah.
But Henry, my next son, and then my maybe they've got a route to construction. But certainly, if the armed forces aren't a way forward, then that's something I'd consider. If they're not vocationally driven to go into law or medicine, I don't think they are. But the other thing is whilst everything you've given is very good advice, there are still people that make that decision to go into apprenticeships. They've done a few of the hard bits to get accepted, because it must be fairly competitive, because there must be a finite number of apprenticeships available.
Spaces, yeah. So
there's still a huge dropout rate. I think I wrote, 47% dropout rates in construction apprentices. So what's your view on that?
What's going on?
And how does your course kind of address that?
Yeah, so I did it was a really short interview, but it was a great stepping stone. It's for BBC Radio 5. And I did it some months ago. It was at 11:30 at night.
Decent.
Yeah, it was a really great opportunity.
Yeah.
It was only for a couple of minutes because they didn't have enough time as they told me they would. Yeah. But one of the things that he said was, why is people dropping out? And I said, it could be one of many, many reasons. They've been pressured to go into it because their Uncle Jack's a ground worker and they don't know what they want to do. So, their dad and their uncle have said, oh, you've got a job with me, son. They've done a year. They never wanted to do it in the first place. They've realised it's hard graft. Yeah. All they did was mess about in college. Yeah. They drop out. They might even carry on doing that trade, but they're not bothered about qualifying.
Right.
That might be one of the reasons. Someone might think that they want to do it and then realise that it's a load of hard work, or it's not what they thought it would be, or they might do a Sparky apprenticeship and think, oh, this is all too many wires, too many colours.
Yeah. It looks complex to me.
It's really, I can't handle that. I just want to lay bricks. Yeah. So they might change and do that. I haven't seen necessarily any evidence of people going, you know, oh, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Necessarily. There's usually more reasons behind it. But I can't help but feel that there is that sitting underneath a lot of the reason people drop out. Because it's hard work. It's really hard work.
It
you know?
is.
And as much as you get to the end of the week and go, great, I'm empty. Do you know what I mean? My tank's empty. I feel shattered. Sometimes it is like, man, how much more can I do with this? And I've only been doing it 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there is an element, and I don't like to take a crap on the youth of today, because I'm one of them, right?
No,
I'm not speaking from a position.
You are 21.
Yeah.
You are qualified to talk.
Okay, great. There is just a lack of ambition and a lack of hard work ethic. And I think a lot of those dropouts, some of them will be justified. I just didn't like the course, or I got forced into doing it. A lot of it is just can't be bothered. Truly, that's what I think.
I think if I then cast my mind back to that time when I was that age, we didn't have, and I think we've kind of talked about this before, but we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all of these mega distractions, and we didn't have knowledge of Matey Boy earning, or the Tate Brothers, or whatever. People becoming millionaires overnight because they suddenly became viral on a social platform.
Yeah,
and lots of these kids coming through, this is what they're seeing, and unfortunately it's whilst phones and the internet seems to bring us all together, it almost also pulls us all apart completely.
Absolutely, it does.
Just from a social context, when you go out to a restaurant, sometimes you see couples opposite each other on their phones the whole night.
Yeah.
Or again, you see families with kids going mad, and they're like, give them the iPad. It's almost like a pacifier.
Yeah.
And suddenly, and listen, I'm no judgment. I've been guilty of that myself. Once he was a young lad, right? Because sometimes you just need to break. You're like, there you go, there's some digital interference. But the people growing up today are very different from the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
And I think the difficulty is my generation, and maybe a bit younger as well, maybe 30 plus, probably don't really understand this new generation coming through, because it's very, very different. They're very different human beings.
Yeah.
They've been brought up with less discipline from a parental perspective, because, parenting's changed a lot as well. I grew up where you'd get belted around the chops if you were ever disrespectful or if you did something wrong.
Yeah.
You don't do that nowadays. So it's very, very, very different. So we are dealing with a generation of people that are so different from ourselves, yet we're trying to, again, put our own values and morality on them.
Yeah, yeah. You're right.
It's tough.
It's really tough.
Ultimately, I think what we're trying to say is, how do we engage this generation and get them to understand all these bits that you have in those 12 steps you talk about?
Yeah.
How do you get them to open their mind to that first?
Yeah.
And then give them that opportunity to have a great life, because a lot of them, they need to open up first to that and understand that and all the difficult bits that you're talking about.
Yes, I think everyone wants to be happy, right? That's what, whether you're religious or not, you say, what's the purpose of life? To be happy, to love, right? To be with people you love.
To be loved.
To be loved, right? To have friends and family around you. To, in 30 years have a load of grandkids running about and have a big old family and live on a farm.
And pray for that.
Right, same. That's ideal for me, right? Yeah. And that is still the general notion, isn't it? To be happy, whether you have kids or not. It's, to be happy. The problem is, and one of my favourite quotes, but Dennis Waitley, an American author, I think he coined the phrase, although it's been reused. It's not the pursuit of happiness, it's the happiness of the pursuit.
Okay.
Happiness isn't an end goal.
Yeah.
If you live life thinking happiness is an end goal, ironically, you're never happy.
Yes,
because
right.
you go, I'll be happy when I've got a nice shiny new van. I'll be happy when I'm making this much money. I'll be happy when I've got a girlfriend. Or when I've got my own house, or when people respect me. Well, yeah, great. When those things happen, you'll be happy. That doesn't mean you can't be happy now.
Yeah.
Be happy working your arse off to get the new van.
Yeah.
Be happy going on a night out trying to chat up some birds. Be happy, trying to get these things.
Yeah.
The happiness in the pursuit. When you can be happy in the pursuit, it doesn't matter if you make it or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you get to the end, because you've enjoyed the process of trying to get that thing. I think when that clicks in your head, young people will go, okay, I won't chase wealth anymore then. look, I want to be rich. I want to have loads of nice stuff. I like the finer things in life.
Yeah.
But if you only ever chase wealth, and again, the Bible speaks of chasing wealth and that it's detrimental and that it's futile. I mean, King Solomon is a fantastic example to look to. You know, I mean, he spent most of Ecclesiastes moaning how everything was futile and boring, and he'd done everything and spent all of his money, and it was all
What's
rubbish.
next?
What's next?
Yeah.
I think when people realise that they can be happy without material things, then they open their mind to say, okay, what's going to give me purpose then?
Yeah.
Because I'll look for purpose. And that is in short supply these days. Young people feeling purpose and responsibility.
Absolutely.
Feeling needed.
Yeah.
Feeling useful. I mean, psychologically, men want to feel useful.
Absolutely right.
That's why when a woman says, I need your help, we say,
Well,
what can I do?
at your service.
Yeah. Mr. Logical, I'll solve a problem for you, right?
Yeah.
Because men want to feel useful, and this applies to women too. We all want to feel useful and purposeful and have responsibility. But without, again, it might be biased because I'm in a manual trade, but without working with your hands and actually doing stuff, I think that just brings a tremendous sense of purpose.
Absolutely right.
You know,
I
and
agree.
again, like we said before we started recording, looking to, whether you are religious or not watching this, look into a higher being, something greater than yourself, something beyond yourself. That gives you purpose, because my favourite scripture is Ecclesiastes 12:13. All things having been considered, the one commandment we should stick to, fear the true God and keep his commandments, that's the whole obligation of man. And it's that word, obligation, it's duty. And when I read that, it made me think of Nelson, and that one of the last flag signals he put up at Trafalgar, England expects every man to do his duty. And it gives you that fire, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right.
You can feel it in the ends of your fists when you clench them, of ambition and, you know, purpose. And I have an obligation to please God. Whether it's God or a male figure in your life, whatever it might be. For me, it's God, it's my family, it's my friends that I want to please.
I'm with you.
To live every day with purpose and responsibility to provide and be there and help. You know, there's this male loneliness epidemic, which it pains me and it really upsets me. You know, we've just had Men's Mental Health Month. You know, the stats on male suicide is devastating. And it truly is a lack of purpose. It's a lack of feeling useful. It's working some dead-end job where you're not respected, you're not shown validation, you're not shown any empathy or any sympathy because people think men don't need it, right? I mean, I'm all for testosterone-filled, you know, all of this. But men do need sympathy and empathy. Like, it's have
we're
no
human
doubt.
beings, right? Yeah.
And I'd love to say I don't and be all
We can fight and all that, but we all need a cuddle as well.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. And that is what is missing. So again, part of my mission is to nip this in the bud before it starts and go, look, you might be all right now, but just
There's
do
some
this.
dark times potentially, but just
100%.
Yeah, but build a foundation that will see you through those storms.
Yes.
And I think there's some really, really great things you've said there. Yeah, we talked about faith previously.
Yeah.
Of course, I got baptised on Sunday, and I was at the rugby club yesterday and got ribbed by loads of people. All right, Clips. All right, how you doing? But I fully expected that. But absolutely, I think the purpose thing is absolutely key. For me, I've had a very colourful past, and there's all sorts that, you know, I'll be very I'm very ashamed of, you know, fighting all the other bits and pieces. And I've been utterly blessed to have an incredible woman that's kind of stuck with me through all the storms, and I'm doing everything I can to keep her happy. Because absolutely, you know, she's my guiding light and rock as well as my faith. Ultimately, my faith is everything now.
Yeah.
But she's been with me every step of the way, and I think that bit that you said, whenever I felt kind of lacking, it was where I started to lose my purpose. I got kids and a wife and a job, but I'd start to forget my purpose and forget. And the comparison thing you talked about is what was the statement about comparison being the theft?
Oh, the thief of joy.
Thief of joy, exactly.
Of joy, yeah.
It's I'd be down and Jem would say, what's up? Come on, let's talk. And we'd talk. And then I'd say, well, you know, I really expected to be doing this and this and this. It's like, right, Graham, stop. 5 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, we were living in a tiny little house. We were really struggling. You had to work 2 jobs. I was working on the door at the Wedge of Dreams as well. Yeah. And so I was working all the hours God sent to just just to live, right?
Yeah.
It was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah.
And then she said, then look where we are now. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Just appreciate how far you've gone. And I think people generally need to do that. I think so. When you mentioned that earlier, I think that's really key for people to understand is, whilst I'm no life philosopher, this is just based on my experience, is actually sometimes you could be so hard on yourself, but you do need to stop, take stock of where you've come from. And go, oh, cool, okay. And we're actually at this time of the year where people are reflecting on the year ahead. There are kids coming up to GCSE or beyond GCSEs, and this is where people start going, right, what are my New Year's resolutions? I hate all that, but I get it. Because it's a kind of fresh start, 1st of January. Do you have any advice for people that are kind of floundering a bit for that purpose? How do they build this purpose in their life if they've not seen it and they're just drifting along on the digital world with their mind fully distracted?
Everyone's individual, right? So I have my purposes, and someone who has no interest in a trade will have their own purposes, right? And it's not a competition of who's better. But there is a baseline for a male purpose and a female purpose. It's outlined in the scriptures. Great guidebook on how to live your life. Regardless of whether you look to the Bible or not, it's also outlined in all of these self-help podcasts, ironically. It's from scripture. But regardless, if you don't believe in a God, watch the podcast. If you do read the Bible, great. They say the same thing anyway, right? Funnily enough. But every man has a baseline checklist that gives him purpose. And some might say it's overly traditional, and it's we've moved with the times now. But for me, a family unit is the strongest bond you can have. And as a man, protecting your woman who's bearing your child, I mean, childbirth just fascinates me.
Well, there wouldn't be any kids if men had to give birth.
Right, exactly.
The whole human race would cease to exist.
Exactly. There's this notion that the sort of traditional ideas put women down. It's like, no, I'm holding them on a pedestal. They're fantastic. They're great.
Absolutely.
Love women, right? I mean, the idea when I finally settled down with a woman bearing my child, right, that we've created out of pure love, and you see it with men, no matter their position, if they've got a wife and a child or a girlfriend and a child, that's their thing. That's what they live for. That's what they get out of bed for. So anyone watching, and from a female perspective as well, it's totally different because male and female roles are totally different, of equal value to a relationship, but totally different, because there's things women are great at that men suck at, and there's things men are great at that women aren't so good at.
We complement each other.
We complement each other beautifully.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what? A educational part of my life was I was working for a company up in Kent, and I'd been with him for a long time, and I was talking to my boss was a really lovely guy, actually, lovely guy. His brother was a famous comedian on Whose Line Is It Anyway, an improv comedian. And I remember saying to him, I was like, oh. And I was doing a lot of work away from home. I was working as much as I could to earn money, blah blah blah. And I was saying, I wish Gemma would do a bit of work, and I'm just really struggling. And he went, wait, have a word with yourself. She's bringing up 3 kids, and you're not at home. This is before I had my 4 kids. She's doing all of this. She's got the hardest job in the world, mate. Do you not understand? And I was still like kind of, and then he spelt it out, and then everything he was saying, I was like, oh yeah, right. He's saying, you can do that. You can do that. Okay, all right. So it was a kind of, I was glad I had that senior mindset that basically put me in my place. It made me suddenly, sorry, you're quite right. So there's also an element of that moralistic kind of guidance that I think a lot of men miss in their life as well. And I definitely get it through faith and church. And when we if we do any studies on various bits and pieces, there's certainly an element where we talk about the biblical role of man and respecting women much more. And unfortunately, with the internet, everything is so hypersexualized in every single way. Then it just gives people a very. I'm not going to go down that route. We could easily go down a different route, but it's. I suppose what I'm impressing is it's just so hard nowadays for kids to find that right moralistic guidance to go on the right path.
It is.
And so I see what you're doing, and I really like it. And that's why when we spoke at St Eddie's, and I thought I'd seen you, I thought you were forces. because you were so sharply dressed. And there was another chap in green fatigues. He was a Royal Marine.
Yes, I had a chat with him.
A sharp chap as well. I want to speak to him as well. But I couldn't believe how young you are to understand that. So you've been blessed. You know you've been blessed.
Yes.
Do you feel like this is a bit of a calling as well? Do you think there's a part of that?
Yeah, I mean, what you touched on earlier, I wanted to make a point on is gratitude. You know, I've been put in my place by my best mate as well. Because he'll call me at the end of the day and hello, mate. He's like, how was your day, bud? Yeah, so. Because I'm here now chatting to you and I'm getting all riled up.
Yeah.
Everyone has bad days.
Of course. Yeah.
And sometimes I'm driving home, I'm fed up with this. I'm fed up with listening to motivational podcasts. It's doing my head in, right? You know what I mean?
The perfect life, nice one, mate.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But my mate puts me in my place a lot of the time. My parents do.
He's like an accountability sort of...
He sort of just says, mate, be grateful.
Yeah.
Look at what you've got. You've got both legs, both arms.
Fit and healthy.
You're fit and healthy. You've got your health, which is the most important thing as well. You know, you've got people around you that love you. You know, you're confident. You're funny. Your character. You know, I mean, this is him complimenting me, whether I believe it or not. But you know, and he's.
I'm sure it comes from a good place.
Absolutely. And he just be grateful, mate. And I hear that, and I think, all right, I'll shut up then, because I have got all of this stuff. And it's being grateful. And you also get that from faith as well, is, you know, the opportunity to have a relationship with the creator of the universe. If I think about that too much, it blows my head up. You know, is like
that's a lot of people I speak to who don't have faith.
Yeah,
and which is the majority of people, it seems, nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely moving away from.
Just yesterday at the club, and it was not, I'd say, mildly uncomfortable. Yeah, because it was almost like they've invited me to explain it, and as I start going into it, I can see them wincing a bit, like, and I can read it, and I go, look, we'll talk about it later. Enjoy your Guinness. See you later, mate. So, do you see? People moving more to faith or away, do you think?
So there's a massive movement with young men to faith. I see it all over social media. I see it from people I used to know, liking certain posts on Instagram. I see, you know, certain reels come up with, you know, and I've scrolled through the comment sections, you know, occasionally, and I see this massive movement because it is a calling, you know, and there's a stat, and don't quote me as gospel on this, if you'll excuse the pun, something like 51% of 16 to 24-year-old men feel like they're lacking purpose.
Wow.
And it's close to that. It's close to that number. It might not be that number exactly, but off the top of my head, it's something along those lines. And so you've got this massive movement of young men towards, again, as I said earlier, looking to a higher being, something beyond yourself to gain favour with. One of my favourite expressions from faithful figures in the Bible is when they pray, if I found favour in your eyes, right? Which is a powerful statement. Because when you pray, it's, if I'm worthy enough to be looked at by you and listened to by you, help me. Wow. Yeah, bless me with Holy Spirit. And another great phrase, whether you're religious or not, is don't pray for easier challenges, pray for stronger shoulders to bear them. So even if you're not praying to a God that you believe in directly, even saying that statement to yourself is, I will be strong. I will take on the stresses of life in order to give my family happiness and a good life, and that's where purpose comes from as well.
Excellent. And just that's something I talk to the kids about. You do not grow as a person in comfort. Like, comfort is, for me, is the enemy of progression, because if ever I've mentioned this on one of the other podcasts, I mentioned about I was really uncomfortable about delivering a presentation on I think it was a particular ship, a Type 45. It was part of my fleet board presentation, and then the Marine captain said, "Right, Graham, we're going to do it in front of the whole class. Voluntary, you don't have to do it." He said, "No, it's up to you if you want to do it or not." And then we had lunch, and my name's Butterworth, so it's going, "Right, Butterworth, up you go." I went, "No, thank you, sir. I'm fine." "Sorry, no, up you go." I said, "No, you said it was voluntary." So he went, I see what you mean. No, you go. And he could see I was insanely uncomfortable. And ultimately, he took me out the back, and then he talked to me. He said, "Listen, mate, whatever happens, this is really important for you. You're going to go in there and you're going to do it, because this is where you grow." And that stuck in my brain. It was a real epiphany moment, but it happened way late in my life, 35. But that was a really significant milestone. Bang! I did it. Didn't die. Everything's great. And ever since then, I've loved public speaking. It's the best. If I hadn't have gone through that, there's so many things that I've done between then and now that I would never have even done. And my life is so much more enriched because of that moment
Yes.
where I jumped in the fire because well, I was pushed in the fire, but I dealt with it, and for me that's like, wow. So I absolutely see the value of discomfort and growing in those areas of discomfort.
Absolutely.
So look, there'll be people that might be listening to this who feel completely rudderless, lacking that direction, potentially a bit of victim mentality because they come from a broken home. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean, you will naturally feel, I've not been dealt a good hand. This has happened to me. No one really likes me. My family are broken. I've got no... And then I can see Johnny next to me. He comes from a really good family. He's well looked after. He's loved. He's going to do better than me. It's ultimately what your point is regardless of anything that anyone's got, if you just put a stake in the ground and go, nah, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to take control of my destiny. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to have a good attitude, and I'm going to talk to myself every day. Do you want to quickly talk about, just quickly, the 12 steps you mentioned and why they're important to young men and women who are looking at this construction? Or do you think that's too much for now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've got a copy here, and I can just go through the contents very quickly. I know it off by heart anyway, but so this is the paper copy of the course. So the contents page, you've got lesson 1.
Do you show the logo to them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so
there it is. Toolkit Conduct.co.uk. That's my website. You can purchase the paper copy and the online version with a load of videos of me jabbering on.
Providing good advice.
Yeah.
That's not jabbering
well, that's
on.
what I say, yeah.
Don't say that.
So the contents, you've got lesson 1, no problem. That's how you should respond to any task you're given in the first days, weeks and months of your apprenticeship. Within reason, of course.
Yeah.
But if you're asked to sweep up for the 5th time that day, you don't roll your eyes and lean on the broom. You say no problem, and you sweep that floor until it shines.
Yeah.
Because that's the last time you'll sweep the floor. Because the next day, you'll be given a more important task with more responsibility. Yeah. If you lean on the broom and you roll your eyes, you're done. Right?
Just quickly on that, you're just straight away, I know I keep interrupting you, but I can bring myself to lots of situations where I've been in the charge of younger people who are a bit less experienced, and it's almost like they find they're above those tasks, almost like, what? Yeah. I'm not doing that.
Arrogance.
Yeah.
Detrimental.
Yeah.
And I speak about that in here as well.
Okay.
You cannot be arrogant.
Yeah.
Confident, stand your ground. You cannot be arrogant. No one is above sweeping up. The guy I work with now, who I've partnered up with, is a master carpenter. Some of the stuff he turns out is mind-blowing, right? Yeah. He will still sweep up while I do a more important job. Because he says, you just do that, I'll sweep up.
Excellent.
You're never above sweeping up.
But that's great leadership as well.
It's excellent leadership. But you're never above sweeping up, especially as an apprentice.
Yeah.
So basically shut up and sweep the room.
Get on with it.
Yeah. Because it will be the last time you do it.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, and then it goes into the psychology all about that, about earning responsibility. I mean, you know, it's not just a simple statement. It's a big old...
Of course, I can see, right? I can see, yeah.
Lesson 2, don't like him. How to get on with people that you don't like.
Oh.
Can you still be seen? Can you still be seen as valuable if someone doesn't like you? Can you still be respected if someone doesn't like you? Can you show respect if you don't like that person?
Yeah.
What is the key to earning someone's respect? Well, I'll give it away, even though I talk about it in here. Validation.
Yeah.
Validating somebody. And I give an example of a tradesman that was hated, and I had to do a couple of days with him. And I won't give this away because it's a cool story, but I showed a simple bit of validation, and from that point forward, I had his respect.
So you found a bit of common ground, and then you could just work on that, and that gave you a much smoother route.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I speak about it in here, about the whole experience.
Okay.
Lesson 3, your breath stinks. Looking presentable on site.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a mucky job. Yeah. It's hard working. I've gotten in before, and everyone in the house has gone, "What the hell have you been doing today? You stink, and you look like you've been in a war or something."
Yeah.
But if you're turning up on site, you got a well-fitted t-shirt on, without coffee stains and smarter ketchup stains. Yeah. You smell good. You look good. Your hair's good. You're kept.
Yeah.
You will stand out. You'll make
definitely. I've definitely been on sites and someone's turned up and they look sharp, and I think they can't work hard. He's not working. And they are. They're smashing it.
Yeah.
How?
Well, this is the balance.
I respect that immediately. Yeah.
I mean, something I say in here. I used to get my new work boots muddy on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it was like, if you turn up with new work boots, exactly this, right? So it's a balance, right? You don't want to you don't do anything, but you don't want to look homeless, right? Anyway, so it goes into all the psychology behind that. Lesson 4, what time do you call this? Being on time, punctuality.
Absolutely.
What it shows to be on time, what it shows to be early.
It's respect, isn't it?
Respect. It goes into it goes into procrastination. Why that's the thief of time. How to avoid it. All about time. That one. Best use of it. Yeah. I still need to work on that one. Lesson 5. Look after the pennies. This is about saving money as an apprentice. So
yeah, of course.
Apprentice wage is poor.
Yeah.
Objectively, no matter from what angle you look at it at.
But you're not getting into debt, so
you are still earning and learning. Yeah, but it's poor, and you're expected to do a lot on that money. So how can you save? Well, there's a massive section about making your own lunches and batch cooking. And in the online version, there's a video of me buying a meal deal from Tesco, and for the same amount of money, buying enough food to make lunches for the week.
Well, that's awesome.
I promise it's in.
I think that's a good lesson for anyone.
Yeah. It's a good lesson for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's some advice on investing in there about what you can do, about investing in yourself. Does that mean you eat some pound coins? No, it's more of a psychological thing. Lesson 6, that wasn't me, taking accountability, as we've mentioned. If you make a mistake, what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you blame someone else and ignore it? Do you own up to it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you take accountability for it? The quicker you apologise, the quicker you move on.
Yeah.
So all about that.
Yeah.
Lesson 7, not for me, thanks, avoiding peer pressure. This strikes a chord for me because I was peer pressured into doing loads of stuff I didn't want to do purely to fit in. Sheep mentality just goes into everything psychologically. Lesson 8, please, sir, can I have some more? How to get more money. We spoke, money makes the world go round.
Absolutely.
At this point in your apprenticeship, you're probably a year on in.
But you do find that but people will take advantage of lack of experience in people and get the most out of them for the
least amount of money.
Yeah.
So this is the point where
you're
you
empowering them with more knowledge to say, this and this, I am worth this.
Absolutely. To go in there, and the secret, again, I'm not giving too much away. The main thing is body language. Doesn't matter how much you know. If you've got the correct, and I won't give those secrets away, if you've got the correct body language, you'll get a pay rise. Guaranteed you'll leave with a pay rise. Excellent. And again, this is stuff that I've learned from reading books, listening to hours of podcasts about body language. Like, I did a load of research for it, so it's good stuff. Lesson 9, what have I done? I call it a mid-apprenticeship crisis. Not a midlife crisis, but a mid-apprenticeship crisis. You have a couple of bad days or a bad week, and you get in, and I say I sat on the end of my bed in my towel, like this, like, what am I doing? This is horrendous. I don't want to be in the industry. I hate everyone. I hate myself.
Is this a common thing then? Halfway through, you kind of, because you're still on the apprentice wage, but you feel like you've got enough experience, so you should actually be over here, but you're not there. You've still got this rest of that journey to do. Yeah. So people want to cut this bit out and go straight to this. Yeah.
And I did a TikTok on it, and I got a load of comments saying, I felt this too, I've got it. So again, it's a common thing, how to get over that. Again, it's loads of information in there. Lesson 10, is the grass really greener? So at this point, a mate comes to you and goes, I'm earning $250 a day doing this at this company. Is he? Is the grass really greener there?
Oh, that happens all the time.
Doesn't it?
50 pence extra an hour.
Yeah. Do I go there? And then there's a top tip of each lesson.
Excellent. Okay.
And the top tip of that is the grass is always greener where you water it.
Absolutely right.
It's not necessarily
everywhere in life.
Side. Wow. It's greener where you water it.
Wide,
exactly. So cultivate your own position. Lesson 11, nobody likes change. So this is the point where you go, great, read your book, it was brilliant. Cool, what are you going to do about it?
I'm all right, actually, mate. Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
Humans say they don't like change. Well, that's not true. They do like change if they decide they're going to change. Yeah. If you get told to change, I don't like that. You're attacking my character, aren't you? But if I decide I wanted to shave my head and, start wearing spandex, great. I mean, I'm fine with that. Do you know what I mean?
Please don't do that.
Oh, wait, that was an extreme example, but you know what I'm saying? If you make a decision to change. So again, the psychology behind making positive change, how to stay positive. And then lesson 12 is, what kind of person do you want to be? And that's a review of the entire thing, how you're going to use it in your life, practical application of the things you've learned in here, and ultimately deciding what kind of person you want to be. So at the very beginning, when I said, it's a Bible of how to do it, it's a guidebook.
Thank you.
It really is. And it's
giving me one of these.
This is yours, yeah, absolutely. The course is called Etiquette for Apprentices. So how to behave as an apprentice.
But I think, when we're talking about a lot of the broken youth, and there's no one plaster or silver bullet that fix everything.
No,
But
no.
ultimately, what you're saying is that everybody has the capability of doing something, and this will help in those dark times. There'll be lots of people that haven't had guidance. They've not had that parental hand in where they should go, and their brains are so fuzzy and they're not doing well at school.
Yeah.
But actually, you're right. Is there an audio element of this? So if anyone's, maybe we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fantastic. I'm always thinking, as well as working full time as a carpenter, how to make this better and more accessible. So I've got the online version, which might be a little bit better if someone's really struggles to sit down and read and concentrate. And again, there's plenty of videos in there where I'm going, let's look at this point, let's look at that point, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
What are the 3 main points from this lesson? There's space in there to write as well. Write notes at the end.
Excellent.
What did you take from this? There's a task in there. It's a formula to make good decisions. EKJ, experience, knowledge, and judgment. What was your past experience? What knowledge do you have? What's your overall judgment? That enables you to make a wise decision. So there's a task in there, a bit of sniff on a night out will be all right, laugh, mate. Experience, knowledge, judgment. Well, what's my experience?
How common is that? Do you see that every
massive problem?
It's mad problem.
Huge problem. But you end up getting pressured into doing stuff like that to fit in.
So the peer pressure is very key there as well.
It really is. That is, honestly, I'm trying to get it into the curriculum. And it's not just because I've written it that I want everyone to read it.
That's all good stuff. That's going to help a lot of people.
I can't stress enough.
I see that completely.
Yeah.
And that's why when I spoke to you, I was thinking, I'd love to give an opportunity to speak to you, or you come and speak. If you're happy to speak to me, happy days. I just really think there's a lot of great stuff in here. Of course, I've been following your content for a while now, and I really love what you're doing, Hugo.
Thank you.
And I really hope this is massively successful.
Yeah.
I will hold cherish this, and my kids. I'm not ending this, by the way. There's loads more to talk about. But,
great.
Let's talk about women in construction. So there's only 15% of the workforce in UK construction is women, and there's only about 2% on the tools on site. Now, if it's very obvious why, because we're built very differently. And of course, we are programmed we're made. This is part of our genetic makeup is to be physical, is to do things with our hands, as from the earliest stage of time, hunting, etc., to eat. And the women would provide the comfort and the security and the love and the foundation for us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But things have changed massively, haven't they? And, for whatever reason, there's been an evolution, and certainly in the 20th century, ultimately, things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
But we are still seeing only a very small percentage of women coming into there. But it's not just for blokes, right?
Yeah.
The construction. Yeah. Ultimately, it's for people that are reliable, coachable, and I suppose attitude, professional. Do you have any? Do any women get in touch with you and say, "Look, mate, I'm struggling with this because it is a macho environment. How do I?"
Yeah. So when I first started my page, actually, I got a message from a particular girl, and she said, "I'm just about to do an interview, and I'm worried because I'm a girl.
Wow.
Am I going to be looked at as a bit of a bottom of the pile candidate because I'm a girl?" Which is a really good question.
Yeah.
Because to be completely honest, as an employer, if I had a great big lump of meat that I knew could carry heavy stuff, automatically I'd go, well, I'd probably be more handy as a labourer than
that's
and that's just nothing to do with the content of their character, purely just he could lift heavier stuff than they could. But I've done talks at colleges and schools, I've done presentations, and I never ever reject a young girl coming up and saying, "I quite like the idea of construction," because otherwise I'd be a hypocrite in knocking them for a path in life they want to take.
Absolutely.
I'm all about encouraging people to have fine purpose and do what they want to do. And if I just went, "Yeah, good luck," well, then I'm going against all the morals and ethics that I stand for.
Of course, yeah.
So it's a more unusual route for a woman to go down.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this isn't good, but in my experience, the one woman that I've seen on site working as a ground worker during my apprenticeship, as you mentioned earlier, was completely hypersexualised. Every single bloke on site was talking about this one woman. I don't think she cared. I think she was a boy.
She'd have been used to it.
She was used to it. She was laughing about it.
Yeah.
She was very confident within herself. She could have a laugh. I truly don't think it affected her. I think she
She'll
quite
be
liked
incredibly
it.
resilient woman.
She liked the banter. She liked the kickabout, and she knew that deep down it was all just banter. But nevertheless, she was just completely hypersexualized.
Yeah.
Just because she was the only woman on site. It really would be.
Yeah.
And you know, she was a middle-aged woman. So, you know, again, she built up a thick skin, but that is a danger, is that it's a male-dominated industry. It is for a reason as well. Yeah, you said, genetically, biologically, you need physical strength and hard work, which I'm not saying women don't have.
Bit of aggression as well.
Bit of aggression, yeah. If a woman wants to be in the trades, great. It's harder.
It is harder, isn't it? In a factually speaking, it is harder.
Yeah.
It is harder. So what's the advice? I suppose it's the same stuff. It's just being reliable.
Yeah.
The right attitude.
Yeah.
And a desire to improve and be ready for the discomfort of all the elements if you're outside, of course. But
yes.
There may be, but I suppose when you think of electrical apprenticeships, there's far less lifting. It's much more mind work. So that's probably a very, very good option.
If you were a young girl and you're thinking that you want to do a trade and you want to do something practical, have a real think about what trade it is that you'll be doing. Because it's funny you say something like electrical. That would probably, if someone said, I'm a girl but I want to do a trade, I'd probably suggest something like that. Yeah. Because women are more patient as well, and you need
very
patience
good
for that trade.
Detail as well.
Great attention to detail. Yeah. Very meticulous as well, which is great for that trade in particular. A ground worker, I'd probably say stay away from it. I don't actually think you'd enjoy it, right? Not many ground workers enjoy being ground workers.
Unless they're used to playing rugby in the depths of winter, and it's like, let's have it.
Yeah,
and I might go, maybe, if you want it. Yeah.
If I was being asked for my advice, I would say pick the trade and pick the company carefully as well. If you're a young lad, you can get away with being in a bit of a rougher environment, company-wise. Yeah. But again, I'm saying this because I like women and I want to protect them. Yeah. So I'd almost be like, please be careful. Yeah. If it was a young lad, I'd be like, go out there and get shouted at and build your resilience. If it's a young girl, I'd be like, be careful at that. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but I've met some young girls that looked at me and I thought, I think she wants to beat me out. She probably could if she wanted to. Whatever,
But I just think it's genetically, biologically, we're different. Yeah. However, absolutely, if you're a young girl and you want to get into the trades, do it. Yeah. If I were to say don't, I'd be going against every point I've made so far.
And you're approachable on TikTok?
Yes, yeah. I always say to anybody that I meet in person or that comments on my videos, send me a DM if you've got a question. Reach out to me. I'm always saying check the website. Yeah. But I've also given plenty of advice just over text as well. What was really nice, I had a young lad message me the other day who said my boss is horrible. Sent him a load of paragraphs. He messaged me a couple of days later and went, I plucked up the courage to have a chat with my boss. It's much better now. I feel respected. I'm happy. Yeah. His dad's not around. His mum doesn't get it. Yeah. And it made me a bit emotional because I was like, wow.
You gave him some fatherly advice, really.
So please reach out. Please reach out.
I'm just checking. There's lots more to come.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, I know we're talking about apprenticeships. And the great thing about apprenticeships is you're earning while you're learning. You're not going into any debt. Is there anything with higher degree apprenticeships? Is there another route there? Do you know of?
Yeah. So there's different levels that you qualify in. Yeah. And the levels are sort of assigned to the years as well. So my apprenticeship was 2 years. The first year I did level 1, second year I did level 2. Right. I could have stayed and done a level 3, which gives you the qualification to be a site agent.
Oh, right. Really?
Yeah. So if you're level 3 qualified, it sort of aligns with CSCS cards as well. So whether you're a labourer, a skilled worker or a black card, and then that gives you the opportunity to be a site agent as well. My cousin, who's a Sparky, his apprenticeship was 5 years. So he's a level 5 qualified electrician. So, I mean, I wouldn't have the patience for that. Yeah. But, he's done a 5-year apprenticeship. Yeah. He's reaping what he sowed and he's doing well now. So, yeah, there's plenty of opportunity to continue to move up the ranks. However, there is nothing like practical experience. Yeah. And I was encouraged by my tutors at college to do level 3. I didn't. I thought I can learn much more on site doing something.
Has that rung true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a good decision you made.
I believe so, yeah.
Because you got additional hands-on experience and actually you got into much more gainful employment earlier.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So college is great.
Yeah.
I don't, I spent a lot of it messing about because you end up with your mates and it feels a bit like a day off.
Yeah.
But when you had to knuckle down, I did. And college is important. You get that slip of paper with your name on it that you can shake about and say, look, I'm qualified.
Yeah.
It helps you. It does help.
Okay.
To get employed. You don't need it. But it does help.
Okay.
It does help.
Because it gives you a polished kind of grounding that everyone can respect to go, okay, they've achieved this level.
Yeah. And again,
so I know there's a basic level of competency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't matter. As we've spoken about, you could start off as a labourer, and if you show initiative, the boss says, "Do you want to learn a skill? Yeah. I'll sort of take you under my wing."
Dump ticket, ticket.
Yes, exactly.
Digger ticket. Yeah.
Yeah. But it does just give you that safety net. I have actually qualified. It also helps if the employer keeps you on as well, that you're doing your apprenticeship with. If you qualify, they say, great, you can stay on and we'll double your wage or pay you X amount. So,
well, just segue onto that.
Yeah.
I wrote down here, sorry, I was mildly distracted, just because as you were saying, I was like, oh yeah, I wrote something down that's relevant to that. So what I read, and it sounded like quite a contentious statement to make, but some higher level apprentices can out-earn, on average, those who have left their degree 5 years on. I don't know where that accent came from. But 5 years after their apprenticeships, they could be earning more than somebody 5 years after their degree.
Yeah.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's crazy stats. So without the debt burden.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I know. This is the point we're trying to get across to people.
There's such good opportunity to do it. Well, exactly, especially the next 5 years with a 250,000 deficit of people.
It's crying out.
Yeah.
There's
we won't
not
talk
enough
about
labour
Brexit either, but
there's not enough labour.
Yeah.
And even if the government said no new houses, it's banned to build a new house, you'd have years of remedial work.
Yeah.
You'd have years of leaky roofs or
Of course.
busted toilets.
Yeah. Well, everyone needs work all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's without new builds and projects and even commercial buildings as well. So yeah, in short, there's tons and tons of work and not enough labour to do it all.
Okay.
And great money to be earned.
Absolutely.
Because not for a painter and decorator, for example, a lot of people would go, oh, I'll paint the bedroom myself. I'm all right.
Yeah.
There's some things that people won't attempt.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely plumbing,
electricians. Even, you even hear people getting in carpenters in to build flat pack stuff.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel a little bit sick. But yeah, it's... My point is,
don't ever do.
Don't do that. Learn how to build flat pack stuff. There comes a point where people need to get a tradesman in.
Yeah.
And when they do, the tradesmen are in high demand.
Yeah.
And
so, just quickly, if they've kind of built this great foundation where they're turning out punctual, look well, have learned, have got all of that, again, when you're doing private jobs around the the local neighbourhoods, your reputation precedes you and
absolutely
keeps you busy. So everything we're saying is get into construction, you're going to earn well if you've got the right attitude.
Yes.
Because that carries through for the rest of your career.
Yes.
And you get a reputation. And I think people don't understand the branding, the personal branding of how they carry themselves.
Yeah.
And I do see that a lot. And there's definitely blokes well in their 40s who would definitely benefit from this too. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah.
Right, so I've got 10 questions.
Okay.
They're not quick fire questions.
Okay.
But I want to ask them all, and there might be some crossover. So, number one, can you pick 3 behaviours that separate a top apprentice from an average one, and what are they?
I'd say 3 behaviours. That's a great question. I'd say the ability to listen to instruction. So
actually active listening.
Active listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. It shows respect.
Yeah.
It shows that you're grateful for what you're being told. And also it benefits you because you actually know the task
what you need to do.
Yeah.
Not just go,
yeah, got it, boss. And then you have no idea, which I've done many a time.
Yeah.
I'd say active listening, humility as a second quality, which sort of ties in with active listening, is realising you don't know it all.
Your position on the site.
You might do 2 months and go, yeah, I can do that, and I nailed 2 bits of wood together, or I laid a couple of bricks. You're nowhere near, mate. You've done 2 months. Humility, know your place. Stand your ground, but know your place. Humility. And then I would just say ambition, work ethic. You don't need to be good. You can have another apprentice that's better and knows more, but is disliked because he's arrogant, doesn't listen, and doesn't have a very good work ethic. You might know more, I'd say it's really difficult to limit it to 3.
Yeah. Keep it to
Because there's loads of stuff.
Yeah,
I will keep it to 3. Yeah, active listening,
humility.
work ethic, and humility is a big one as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Second question. What's the most common attitude problem that you see in apprentices, or do you think we see? I'll let you. Yeah, I've got some examples. But what the biggest problem in attitude you see?
Either laziness or arrogance.
Talk to me about arrogance. So if you've just come to my site, you've got your 2-day release, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I just need you to pull out all those nails along that plank, and then I just need you to sweep up the back room. All right. Like what do you mean? What's the response to that an arrogant person would be?
A snarky comment. You must be having a laugh, mate. I'm not doing that. That's not my job. I've been doing this a year.
Okay. So
Right.
do we see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, right.
Or saying, yeah, whatever, mate, and then half-heartedly doing it.
Yeah.
Doing a naff job.
Yeah.
At whatever you've been asked to do.
Okay.
As a fresh apprentice out of school, you probably wouldn't see them do that because they'd be scared to answer back to a site agent. But you certainly do get it, and you get it with the apprentices that are 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
Arrogance in, mate, I'll tell you what, it's great what you're doing, but I quite like doing it this way because of this, and this. Basically saying, do it my way.
Yeah.
And the apprentice
what they're
yeah. You're trying to give them advice.
Understood. Yeah.
And they just sort of, yeah, whatever, mate. It's like, I'm actually trying to help you out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be nice to you.
This is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Or I hear it
I've come across that
with my mate as a tree surgeon. Because he subcontracts, he'll turn up to a company and he'll suggest something and he'll just get shouted down, or you don't know what you're talking about. I'm above you, mate. What are you talking about? So, you know what I mean? Maybe you wouldn't get that with an apprentice because they can't claim they're above their mentor.
No, but look, the older apprentices could have mates that are 5 years ahead of them, who are earning the money we talked about, and they think they're already at that level because their mates have taught them a few tricks that they know.
They think there's better. And also arrogance in terms of, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to respect you.
Yeah, I don't like the way you look.
Yeah, not necessarily blatant arrogance, but just get off your phone. Yeah, whatever. And they just carry on staying on their phone. Come on, we got to have a good day today, mate. And they're half in the van, half asleep. Or, can you be on time? And they're not on time. That's arrogance, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. Like, my time's more important than yours.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awful. Okay, thank you. Okay, so first year apprentice, what should they do in that first 30 days to become that valuable on site? So you talked about making that early impression. So what can someone just stick, remember 30, you do something 30 times, it's like a habit as well. But in that first 30 days to become valuable, what can apprentice do on site?
Be on time every day, right? You're probably going to be getting picked up unless you can drive already, in which case, great. If not, you're going to be getting picked up.
Yeah.
Stand outside your front door 5 minutes before he arrives, or leave your house as he's pulling up.
Yeah.
Never make him wait.
Yeah.
Because that will put your mentor in a bad mood for the entire day.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't care.
Yeah, that does annoy me.
Even if he doesn't care, he'll make a point of it.
Yeah.
Be on time. Then you avoid all possible, and you were late this morning, half a day, Harry.
It's a pretty simple thing to get wrong.
It is, isn't it? It is. I mean, I still struggle. I still struggle to everyone watching.
My punctuality is not always the best.
Right, okay, and I do make it in late to work sometimes, and I do oversleep occasionally, and I do say I'll be somewhere and I'm late. But as an apprentice...
He was on time today.
To the minute, actually. Yeah, be on time. As well, just try and be as helpful as possible, right? So whether you are stood there with the hammer and you're holding it by the head of the hammer so that he can grab the handle, little things like that, be as helpful as possible. As well, if you really wanted to try and impress them, get out the van at tea break before they do.
Excellent.
I noticed that a couple of times.
Yeah, I would definitely notice that.
Yeah, right, okay, good.
When I've worked, when I had my company, I had a couple of gangs, and when I would always be the one to say, come on then, let's get out on site.
Yeah.
And that annoyed me a bit because I thought they're just waiting to get the most seconds out of their break.
And if you didn't say anything,
they would have stayed in there.
They would have stayed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that really annoyed me. So what does, and you may have covered this, there may be things that cross over. So what does professional look like on site in terms of language, respect, cleanliness? Yeah. Is it that? How do you come across professional? You talk about the way you present yourself. I suppose we have covered that, but just as a hard-hitting, what does professional look like for an apprentice on site?
Watch your mouth, especially if you're in someone's house, right? There's been a couple of times where I've almost landed myself in a load of trouble because I've made a comment about a customer and then the door is like just opened. And I'm like, man, if I had said it that loud, 10 seconds later they would have heard, right? And that's put me in my place a few times. Nothing horrendous, but just a little comment here and there. You know, why would they pick that wallpaper? It looks awful. Even something as simple as that, it can upset the customer. But with language, watch your mouth, right? If you're in someone's house, cleanliness as well. If you're in someone's house, you speak to them with respect. Boots on, boots off. Yeah. They're brand new, but we'll roll down carpet protection. Boots on, boots off. You know, if they make you a coffee, before you leave, you take the mugs and you put them in the sink. You don't leave them on the windowsill of the bedroom. You know, if you're moving towards site as well, those things get a little bit more laxed because there's not necessarily a customer to impress. But still, it's building those habits. You know?
I think just to transfer what you've said from us to a site perspective, it's ultimately making sure your work area is always tidy.
Yeah, that's a massive one.
It's acknowledging the site manager when he walks in or your boss, and it's just having respect, really, ultimately, isn't it? Respect for yourself and respect for others.
For yourself as well, and looking presentable too, you know.
So we talked about banter. And there's a fine line, isn't there? So how do you... And this is tough for apprentices because it's borderline bullying sometimes. But what's your advice to them because there'll be some hot-headed kids who have spent their life in kind of battles with people in their family, and then they're suddenly like, I'm ready to go whenever. But how should they hold the fizz in the bottle when someone's probably deserving a slap? But what and do you fight back with banter? What's your advice to people having to deal with that? Because you do have to deal with some knuckle draggers sometimes. You think, how do you deal with that?
It's a great question, and there is a fine line between banter and bullying. And bullying does happen on site. Right, bullying happens in colleges with the apprentices on each other, and it happens on site with the builders on the apprentices, builders with other builders as well. The banter in the construction industry is great. It's a proper laugh sometimes, and I can be working with the guy I work with, and I can call him all sorts of names, and he'll cut something, you know, short, and I'll tell him how awful
the rest of the day he knows about.
Do you know what I mean? You can proper mess about. I think the important thing to do is gauge who you can push it with, and who you can't, and who's going to push it with you and who won't. There will be some people you work with, and some of the stuff they'll come out with, it will be insults you've never even heard before, right? Now, this is really where you've got to use your judgment on whether you bring it up or not. If it's something that crosses a line you have, a comment about yourself or a family member, it might be worth calmly saying, I really like working with you, mate. I'm having a proper laugh. That was a bit too far for me.
Okay, so you're defining your boundary.
You're defining your boundary. You don't go, what did you say, blah, blah, blah. Square up, especially as an apprentice, because that will get you throttled and you kicked off site and you lose your apprenticeship. Because, unfortunately, you lose.
Of course, despite someone pushing you to the edge, and they get away with it.
It's going to be your fault, right? Because you're smaller and younger, and that's the way the world works. Calmly, if they've crossed the boundary, truly... say something. If you can let it pass, let it pass. It might be a comment that winds you up and upsets you a little bit. What you've got to do is think, am I going to be working with this person forever? No. Is it really worth bringing it up? Or is it going to just cause more issues if I bring it up? Probably. So you're going to have to bite your tongue.
I suppose that's the best advice initially, isn't it? Until it becomes a real... a continuous problem.
Yes, if it becomes a continuous problem, stand your ground. Have a chat with the boss, tell him what's going on. If you display good qualities, your boss is going to go, you're a good guy, I'll listen to you. If you're constantly moaning about everything, if you have to approach your boss, he's going to go, well, you're always moaning, you can't, you know what I mean? It can't be that big a deal. So you've got to pick your battles. Pick your battles is what I'd say.
Okay, pick your battles.
And it's something you only learn with experience.
I think, you bite your lip. And then if you do notice it's a continuous attack, then it's bordering bullying, really. And that's when you say something,
You've got to address it,
And that's part of growing up, isn't it?
It's experience.
Kind of jumping in the fire and being a man. Sometimes. So we kind of touched on this, but I think just for this short, really, what's a realistic pay progression story that you've seen, and what caused it? Caused is probably the wrong word, but what was behind that? So we talked earlier about by a certain age you could be. And how realistic is that? Have you seen that? Talk to us.
So in my own experience, I called up the company that I did my apprenticeship with, and he told me how much he would pay me and said, "Are you happy with that?" And I went, "Well, to be honest with you, I think I'm worth £100 a day." I was 16. I wasn't worth £100 a day, but I said it to be cheeky, and he laughed and went, "Well, we'll see how good you really are." So it was cheeky, and I didn't actually think I was. Yeah. But it was just dropping it in there to say, I know my worth. Yeah. Right. I think I'll be pretty good at all of this. Yeah. So just keep me on your radar. And of course, I wasn't paid £100 a day for a long time, but it was just dropping it in there. I think usually the way that it works with big companies is you get paid your standard apprentice wage, you qualify and you get paid improver's wage. Right. Right. And then after a few years of that, if you're employed, you either have a conversation with them and say, right, what is it then? Because this is all contract worthy. If you're self-employed and you're subcontracting, you've got the means to go to the boss and go, I'm charging myself out at this much.
Of course,
if I'm valuable to you, if I'm valuable to you, this is what I am. And a lot of the time they'll go, things are tight, mate, things are tight. And you might go, I can find work elsewhere then. And they'll say, no.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah. So know your value, and that will help you to determine how much you ask for. A realistic pay progression with an apprentice could be anything. If you're working for a smaller company, after 6 months, if you read that and you're a great apprentice and you go to him and go, not arrogant, but look, I know you know what you've got with me. Yeah. I'll stick by you. My loyalties lie with you, but I'm travelling a bit far, or I've had to buy loads of tools for a particular job we're on. Can I have more money? Can we talk about it? Realistically, you can move up as quickly as you can. Excellent. You know what I mean? There's no limit on it. If you're working for a bigger company, it will be more structured, and you might not have as many opportunities.
But your increments are generally quite limited as well, where we only go up by 5% max every year. So
exactly. With a bigger company.
Yeah. And then that's where you see people moving company to company, because that's the way you suddenly slap 5-10 grand on your salary when you come back and Okay, but I know I think it's lesson number 3 or 4, lesson 8. Sorry, please, sir, can I have some more? Yeah. That's good. I like that. So why, we did touch on this earlier, but why do you think, just for this, why do you think so many apprentices don't complete, which is that 47%? And what's the fix? Is there a fix?
Well, I'd say that is, but I'm biased because I've written it. Yeah. But I'd say that is the thing that's lacking. And a phrase that I've sort of coined is, you learn the practical on site, you learn the theory in college. There is nowhere, as of yet, that you learn etiquette.
And you're saying this gives the framework to deliver.
That's what it is.
So this is a framework for people to actually have a successful career.
Yes, truly. And I truly believe that. So I think a lot of people leave because they feel out of their depth. They feel, intimidated, like they're never going to succeed. Being an established tradesman is far too far in the future for them to ever sort of, materialise. I can't do it, I'll do something easier.
Give up quickly.
Yeah, I'll push trolleys to the trolley thing in Tesco, or I'll work in Mackey's because I could actually earn more than I'm on as an right now.
I could be a manager in 5 years' time.
I mean, yeah, great.
Just quickly, that point is, I mentioned on something else, I recite poetry as well. I get ribbed for that all the time. Like, mate, what are you doing? Yeah. I just like poetry now. It's marvellous. One of the things I spoke about, I went on a shoot at a farm in Sherborne and met this really, really interesting guy. He's well into his 60s, but fit as a fiddle. He's got the energy and the presence of a 35-year-old. His surname is Peck. I won't give any more away, but he used to run a farm. He's very agricultural, brilliant hunter, brilliant at everything, like whether it's arable crops or if it's livestock, just really switched on. But what a positive guy to be around. When you talk about those 5 people, someone I'd want him to be living next door to me. He's a top man, and I'd learn a lot from him. But he was talking to me. We're at the dinner table, and he was talking to all of us, and he was talking about how he had kind of reached good heights of hunting, brilliant shot, and he wanted to explore something else and develop a skill somewhere else. So he started fishing, and he started talking to us, and he was saying, well, so I really wanted to understand fly fishing. I got a number of spots, different areas that I'd go within half an hour where I am, an hour where I am, and he literally fished nearly every day for 2 years without catching a single fish. And I said, well, what motivated you? Like, what kept you going? Because I know if I'm throwing the line in and I haven't caught anything within an hour, I'm like,
I'm bored. What's going on?
I'm going to go on Instagram. That's me. I've had enough. But no, this guy understood. And of course, through many years of experience and understanding other things, he knew that every day he said, every day I'd go out, I'd understand a little bit more about the fly I was using. I'd understand about the line, about how the weight of the line affected the flight of the fly and the way it hit the water. And I understood at various times of the day. And then I started to understand, I'd start potentially getting nibble. So basically, he was just building up this foundation of knowledge.
Yeah.
And it took him 2 years of patient endeavour.
Yeah.
And by the end of that, he said, I remember catching my first fish, and it was a tiddler. It was about that big.
Yeah.
And he said, the elation, the joy that I got from catching that fish was incredible. But I knew I was then, and I said, so were you then catching more all the time? He said, absolutely. Because I'd done so much. I knew where I was fishing, what best line was. I knew what the best fly was, and what bait was suitable for which fish. And he now goes around the world to the most challenging fishing environments to catch the most challenging fish. And he's an incredible fisherman now.
Yeah.
But for me, hearing that story, a genuine organic story, I was thinking, that's so important for people to understand. Patience in the process, which is the apprenticeship, really. You've got 2 years of 2 or 3 years, whatever it may be, but you are doing every day. You are building a knowledge. You're building. You're putting money in the bank with your knowledge bank, and you're building. Stay patient. Stay on that journey, because at the end of it, you are going to see the greatness of what you've done.
Absolutely.
So
well said.
Yeah, that was. I love that story, and I thought it was very relevant for this.
It's a great story. Yeah. I mean, I sort of touched on it in Look After the Pennies as well. This idea of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
You don't get gratification for ages and ages.
Yeah.
And there's in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, it's a fantastic book, and there's a section in there about it, and he sort of says, man hungry, man eat mammoth, man save some of mammoth for tomorrow when man hungry. So it's like, well, stop, it will come, right? Like, delayed gratification, you won't get it all now. But just, I mean, with that, it's saving, put some away. But again, it's saving knowledge, it's saving.
Of course.
It's a process, it's patience, as you mentioned too. But that's a great story. It's very relevant
I'd chuck that in there for free. So we talked about this. I think this is very important. So obviously, when you're young, it doesn't matter what age you are, you make mistakes. So what should apprentices do when they make a mistake? Because everyone does. What should they do when they make a mistake?
Number one, take accountability. That was my fault. Right, why did it happen? Didn't think, or was overconfident, rushed into it. So again, this idea of self-evaluation, you're working out who you are, why you do certain things. And making a mistake is very telling of who you are.
Yeah.
Because if you're constantly making mistakes because you're rushing into stuff, well, that's very telling that you need to slow down. If you're constantly making mistakes because you're not listening to the instruction, well, then you need to listen better. You need to actively listen instead of just hearing the instruction.
Yeah.
So number one, that was my fault. Why did it happen? Because of this. Then you got to tell someone about it, which is the worst part, because you feel that big, you feel like a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And you'll be made to feel like an idiot, mark my words, verbally. Then you got to tell someone. You go to the bloke in charge, whether that's the mentor, the site agent, the foreman, whatever. If it's a massive problem, by the way, if it's something you can get over and hide, well, great. A good tradesman knows how to get over an issue, right?
Yeah.
If you've properly cocked up...
Not hide, fix.
Yeah.
Fix.
Yeah, fix. If you've properly cocked up, you go and tell someone, look, boss, made a mistake. I'm sorry. Can you show me how to avoid that mistake next time?
Yeah.
Or show me how to rectify it now? If you say those words almost verbatim, you'll be forgiven pretty damn soon.
That's very good. I'm just going to share my experience. I know I keep jumping in, but I told you I had a small groundworks firm, and we were working for the firm I'm working for now, and we were on a wonderful project in Dorchester, working on a police station, and I had decided that me and the machine driver were going to continue this drainage excavation. I had a laser level. I knew there's a water main there, 180 mil, a fairly well pressurized water main, and I knew where it was. So I'd got the level there, and we needed to dig above it. And already anyone in construction is going, what are you doing, mate? But we had to dig above it. And so I understood the level there, and I'd gone on the bank, and I've kind of gone, beep. So I said, right, the main's there. So I think we're good for about a couple 100 mil above. We're good. And we're in a big machine, in a 13-ton machine. He turned his bucket around, and he's just slowly bringing the bucket in, bringing it out. Lovely job. And I'm banking. Here we go. Yeah, we'll be fine. I'll hand dig the last 200 mil.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the bucket goes in, and then there's this dunk, and suddenly,
man. Yeah.
I was thinking, no.
Yeah.
No. And then the machine drivers looked at me like, well done, mate.
Yeah.
And he knew basically there was, we didn't know what had happened, but we knew we'd done something to the water main. This pit was suddenly filling with water at a rate of knots. It was horrible. Yeah. And basically, I decided to dig in a way that I shouldn't have been, because actually the top 500 mil should have been dug by hand. But anyway, there was no way I could hide that. And then I remember just going, I'm the leader here. I've got to take this on the chin. And this could mean I'm thrown off site. All the men are chucked off site. But I've got to face up to my responsibility here. So I remember then going into the site office, and there was a really lovely chap. I'll just call him SVB. I went in there. It's like, can I have a quick word, mate? He was like, yeah, sure. He comes out of the office, because I think his boss was in there too. And I said, Sean, I'm not sure how to say this, but I've gone through the water main. He went, the one that you knew that was there? Yeah. He went, right, okay, well, we're going to jolly well have to have a look at it. Yeah. So, yeah. So we walked out on site, and I showed him, and then I was so overwhelmed. I'm not ashamed to say, I realised I had really buggered up here. And then I suddenly thought, all the guys that are dependent on me being there and giving them work, suddenly this could all end right now. I remember then going into the tool cupboard on site, because no one else was there, and I just remember just crying like a baby. Yeah. Really buggered up here. Yeah. And bless him, he came in, and I was like trying to compose myself very quickly. Oh, all right, yeah, good. And he said, look, I'm just glad you told me the truth. Yeah. Loads of people don't do that. Yeah. They would say, I don't know, someone else hit it for whatever. Yeah. I don't know how else you could have covered that up, but that was tough. That was tough for me as a very experienced bloke on site. Yeah. I still found it very hard to own up to it, because I realised I'd buggered up massively. But I suppose the upshot from that was he respected me more for it. He thought I was useless in a way, because how could I do that? I'd gone against the method statement. But he respected me for that, I think.
And that's what it is. It's telling the truth, right? Because truth builds a foundation of trust, doesn't it? Truth and trust. Yeah. So the other thing I say in that course as well is I give an experience of where I was blamed for something that I didn't do. Now, if I had spent the last 2 years of my apprenticeship blaming other people, lying, saying it was someone else's fault, diverting the blame, saying it wasn't me, stitching someone else up, when I came to be blamed for something, I wouldn't have had a leg to stand on, would I?
Yeah.
Well, because I would have gone, well, it's not me, it's not. Yeah, mate, you've been saying that for 2 years. Boy, you cried wolf, right? Like, I had that example in there. Yeah. I had a spick and span record of cocking something up and owning up to it. Yeah. So when I came to be blamed for something big that I didn't do by someone else on site, and they stitched me up and said it was me and it wasn't, I said to the foreman and to my boss, it was not me, and I was believed, because I'd built that level of trust. And it's like you say, that was a horrible situation. It was a blatant cock up from you. Yeah. But you were honest with the guy, you were truthful, and he respected you for it.
Yeah. And I think, in fact, people get thrown off site for that. And I think, well, I know he said to me, he said the reason you've not been thrown off is because you told us the truth from the start. So absolutely right. That's I like that. So, final question. And it's a very competitive arena, construction, right? So if you're competing with 20 others for the next step up, what's the unfair advantage that you can build?
The unfair advantage?
So basically you've given yourself that. How has he done that? How has she done that? Is there an unfair advantage?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Look, you can go completely nuts at trying to master your trade. You can stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning watching countless tutorials on YouTube. on how to get the perfect mitre or the perfect scribe.
Yeah.
You can take pieces of wood home, which I did a little bit of, probably not. You can take pieces of wood home and you can practice your cuts.
Live with the woods.
Yeah. Practice cutting your straight lines. Practice ripping. Yeah, because there's different ways you cut with a saw.
Yeah, just explain ripping.
The grain, ripping with the grain, cutting across grain.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you were ripping down, you'd be ripping a length of timber long ways.
Yeah.
Basically, that was a terrible explanation. That wasn't professional language at all. But yeah, you practice your straight cuts, you know, get private work during the week, hang your grandma's kitchen cabinet, fix the door on it, dig a hole for someone in their back garden. You can do all of that and build up an extra plethora of knowledge that others haven't done, if you want to. If you can't be bothered to do that, the other thing you can do is just utterly excel with your attitude.
Okay.
You probably would rise at the same pace. Because if you were a bit, like in school at the very beginning of this conversation, if you were a weird one, you might not be socially great, but you're some sort of savant at a certain subject. You could just become an absolute nutcase master carpenter and be the best at everything. And that's how you excel. Or if you didn't want to put that much effort into that, you can just have a great attitude. People want to be around you. You're good to work with. Positive, good. You can be both. If you can be both,
well, you're winning at everything.
You're winning, right? But it's difficult to do that. So great question. Unfair advantage. I think you can go completely nuts. Tutorials, practicing, private work, building up, becoming a master carpenter. Or you can put the same amount of effort in, but to mould yourself.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Be that go-to that people know that you are reliable, you're punctual, you've got a great attitude. And in a team environment, everyone wants you to be around because you're positive.
Yeah, and everyone wants you to be the leader.
Ah.
Because I love being the leader.
Yeah.
And I love when people assign me as the leader of stuff. Yeah. Right? So...
Was that natural to you, though? Did that naturally come? Was that something you've actually thought about? Was it purposeful or did it naturally happen?
I've always been a centre of attention.
Yeah.
I've always liked to be laughed at.
Tall, good-looking lad, well presented, wonderful moustache.
Thank you. I've always wanted to be centre of attention. Of course, everyone goes through the awkward stage growing up where you're all shy and blah, blah. But again, it's come from my parents. Both of them, they're very outward, they're very extroverted. So I've learnt that from them. And just as well, I've learnt that it's a dog-eat-dog world. And if you're going to make it, you've got to have opinions and you've got to have a voice and you can't be afraid to share it.
And stand by your conviction.
And stand by it and have integrity.
Yeah.
So, either go nuts and work at your trade and master your craft or master who you are as an individual. Both of those things will set you apart from the rest, I think.
I like what you're saying there. And but I think ultimately the point is there, if you are competing with 20 others, it's a much longer process in terms of if you are doing all these from the start, that will make you stand out. Yeah. So it's a long game. Yeah. So if you've played the long game correctly, there's no competition there, is there? Because I can't imagine everyone's going to follow these steps and sort of follow what you've got here. Yeah. And if you do, that's pretty much a surefire way of getting to that level.
An instant stand, yeah, absolutely. And it's consistency as well. I mean, my dad was recently complimented on his consistency, just non-changing, just a good guy. And we had a chat afterward and he sort of said that was one of the best compliments I've ever gotten. Yeah. And it took me a while to sort of be like, really? You know what I mean? I would have rather been called handsome by a girl or something, like, really? But, I mean, I wouldn't. I get why that's important, but I'm just, but being complimented on consistency, on just being a solid bloke, top bloke, to hear someone say, oh, that Hugo, he's a top guy. He won't stitch you up. He'll sort you out and make sure you're okay.
Yeah, someone said that about me.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, so, it's great validation.
Great validation. Again, so that helps you grow as an individual. Yeah. It helps you feel better about yourself, validated by yourself. Again, it's great to feel useful, especially as a man. So yeah, you're right. I mean, if anyone listening reads that, straight away, you've got a head start.
See, it's got dark.
It's gone dark.
Yeah, there she is.
But
I'm keeping that. So, listen, Hugo, I think we got to the end of that. I think we've gone for 2 hours.
Have we really?
We've gone for a while. But I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. I've got to know you a lot better. Yeah. And I think what you're doing is absolutely great. And I absolutely, hand on heart, wish you every success with that. And I really think it's a cracking bit of kit. I think there's a lot of people out there who could benefit from that. Even well-established people that are still kind of hopping job to job to job and not getting any consistency, that could give them some very good, stable structure to then push on to that next level. So I always get this, it's not toolbox.
Oh, I would have had to correct you as well.
Toolkit Conduct.
Conduct. There you go.
Toolkit Conduct. Hugo, thank you very much for coming. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But if you just finish, please, with a statement of how, I know you've said it throughout, but how people could get hold of you, how they can access these materials, whether it's online or paper version, and your final bit of advice to anyone listening.
So, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram and TikTok as well. Toolkit Conduct. I think my Instagram is toolkit.conduct. You'll find me if you search me up. You can reach me on there. Send me a private message. Send me a DM. Follow me. Like something. Whatever. Right. If you want some help, I'll reach out. You can reach out. And you can visit my website as well. toolkitconduct.co.uk. The What's This All About page explains each lesson in greater detail than I just did. You can look at what each lesson is, what it's going to do for you, what it addresses, what helps, and then you've got the option of purchasing the course or doing the online version as well. My email's on there too.
Okay.
So if you want to send me an email, then great. We can arrange a Zoom call. I'm working on that as a feature currently for some online lessons. If you buy the course and you want to talk about a particular lesson, then great. So
it gives you access to.
Brilliant. I think as a closing statement, yes, this is a business for me. Yes, I want at some point for this to become a source of income.
Yeah.
But I have a serious passion for passing on my knowledge. As I said, I feel a duty, an obligation to tell people less fortunate than myself how to succeed. Well, not that I've succeeded yet, but to get on the path to being successful. So reach out. I'll do everything I can because I'm passionate about young people getting into the trades.
Good man.
As well.
Good man. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hugo Helms of Toolkit Conduct.
There we go. Got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you.